In the name of Allah, the entirely merciful, the especially merciful. The command of Allah is coming, so be not impatient for it. Exalted is He and high above what they associate with Him.
The name of the surah. This surah has been called Al-Nahl, that is, the honeybee, because it mentions it as a unique divine marvel. Another name for this surah is Surah Al-Ni'am. Qutubai, the word ni'am is the plural of nima, blessing, because the great blessings of Allah Ta'ala have been particularly mentioned in this surah. Commentary. The surah begins without any particular introduction with a direct, stern and awesome note of warning. The reason behind it was the saying of the polytheists that Muhammad, al-Mustafa, keeps warning them of the day of Qiyamah and the punishment of Allah, and telling them that Allah Ta'ala has promised victory for him and punishment for his opponents. All this they challenged, they do not see coming upon them. In reply it was said, the command of Allah is bound to come. So, do not ask for it to come sooner. Here the expression, Amrullah, the command of Allah, means the promise Allah has made to His Rasul that His enemies will be made to surrender, and that Muslims will be blessed with victory and honor. In this verse, it is in a distinctly awesome tone that Allah Ta'ala has said, Ada Amrullah, translated here as the command of Allah is bound to come, literally the nuance of the original expression remaining untranslatable. The sense is that issued is the command of Allah, that is, it is bound to come, which you will soon see. Some commentators say that the command of Allah here means the day of Qiyamah. The sense of its being bound to come is that it is going to come soon. And if we were to look at it in the frame of the life of the entire world itself, its being close, where its actual coming does not remain much distant. Al-Bar al-Muhit, as for the second sentence in the first verse where it is said that Allah Ta'ala is free of shirk, the ascribing of partners to Him, it means that the act of these people who are belying the promise of Allah Ta'ala is itself an act of kufr, infidelity, and shirk. Allah Ta'ala is absolutely free from it. Al-Bar al-Muhit, the essential message of the first verse is to call people to believe in the oneness of Allah, Tawhid, through a stern warning. The second verse carries an affirmation of Tawhid through a reported proof, the substance of which is that every Rasul or messenger of Allah, from Sayyidina Adam to the last of the prophets who has come in different parts of the world at different times, has but preached this belief in the oneness of Allah, though none of them knew anything about the life and work of each other because of obvious causes. Just imagine if at least 120,000 blessed wise men who are born in different ages, countries and regions, and believe in and adhere to one single principle, then one is naturally compelled to accept that their saying so cannot be false. In order to have faith, this single proof is sufficient. The word Ra, spirit, as used in this verse, according to Sayyidina Ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, means wahi, revelation, and according to some commentators, it means hidayah, guidance. Al-Bar al-Muhit, after having presented the reported proof of Tawhid in the second verse, the same belief has been proved rationally by turning the focus on the blessings of Allah Ta'ala as it follows next in verses Surah An-Nahl, ayat 3-8.
He sends down the angels with the inspiration of His command upon whom He wills of His servants, telling them, Warn that there is no deity except Me, so fear Me.
See Surah An-Nahl, ayah 1, for the Tafsir.
He created the heavens and earth in truth. High is He above what they associate with Him.
Lexical explanation. The word qasim in verse Surah An-Nahl, ayah 4 has been derived from qusuma and means a quarrelsome person. Al-Anam is the plural of Naam, which are cattle such as a camel, goat, and cow. Al-Mafradat of Ragib al-Lisbaan. The word difan in verse Surah An-Nahl, ayah 5 denotes what provides warmth, that is, wool which is used to make warm clothings. The word turihan in verse Surah An-Nahl, ayah 6 is a derivation from rawat and tasrahan in the same verse from saro. When the cattle are sent to graze, it is called Sarah, and when they return home, it is called Roa. The expression shikul anfas in verse Surah An-Nahl, ayah 7 means personal hardship.
He created man from a sperm drop, then at once he is a clear adversary.
Commentary. The verses affirm the oneness of Allah through the great signs of the creation of the universe. The first such creation pointed to is the creation of the heavens and the earth. Then comes the creation of human beings, whom Allah Ta'ala has made the ones who are served by the whole universe. How did man originate? The text says that he was created from an insignificant drop that happened then was, and soon he turned into a quarrelsome person expressing himself openly. In other words, when the elementally weak man was endowed with strength in speech, He turned into a critic of the Creator himself, disputing his being and attributes publicly.
And the grazing livestock he has created for you. In them is warmth and numerous benefits, and from them you eat.
After human beings mentioned, there was the creation of things which were made specially for their benefit. Since the first addressees of the Quran were Arabs and their economic life depended on domestic cattle like camels, cows, and goats, therefore these were taken up first. As for the cattle, he created them. Then, out of the benefits received by human beings from the cattle, two were particularly mentioned. Having warmth for you, that is, they use wool from them to make clothing which keep them warm during winters. The second benefit was mentioned in, and of them you eat. That is, they can slaughter these animals and eat from their meat. And when alive, they procure milk from them, which is fine food indeed. Included here are butter, yogurt, butter, or oil, and everything else which fall under dairy products. For the rest of benefits derived from them, only one word, manafi, other benefits, was considered sufficient. It signifies that there are countless benefits tied to the meat, skin, bone, and hair of animals. It is within the framework of this brevity, even ambiguity, that a hint has been given towards all modern innovations in the processing and use of food, dress, medicine, and domestic articles, innovations which have been made to date, or will be made right through the last day. After that, identified, there is yet another benefit of these cattle, though, in terms of the contemporary Arab taste of the time, when it was said that these cattle make things look good for them, particularly when they return home from their grazing grounds in the evening, or when they are sent out to graze in the mornings. The reason is that these cattle, at that time, become silent spokesmen of the strength and pride of their owners. Finally, mention has been made of another important benefit, which comes from these animals. They carry heavy loads to far-out places which could not be reached without putting yourselves into hardship. Out of the animals, camels and oxen have been particularly harnessed into the service of man at a large scale. Even during our day of trains, trucks, and cargo planes, human beings cannot universally claim to have become free of their need. There are places in the world where none of our modern means of transportation can work. Consequently, one is compelled to borrow their services.
And for you in them is the enjoyment of beauty when you bring them in for the evening and when you send them out to pasture.
See Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 5 for the Tafsir.
And they carry your loads to a land you could not have reached except with difficulty to yourselves. Indeed, your Lord is kind and merciful.
See Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 5 for the Tafsir.
And he created the horses, mules, and donkeys for you to ride and as adornment. And he creates that which you do not know.
Since mention was made of them, that is, camels and oxen, it was appropriate that mention be made of quadrupeds, which have been created exclusively for purposes of draft and ride. One does not benefit by their milk or meat because, according to religious law, they are the cause of moral diseases, hence prohibited. It was said, and he created horses, mules, and donkeys so that you may ride on them, which includes loading as a corollary. And they were also created so that they may look good. The word sinna, used here, means the same favorable quality of life which, as commonly recognized, is the pleasing possession of these animals by their owners. Railroads, automobiles, and aeroplanes in the Quran. In the last sentence of verse Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 8, after having mentioned three animals particularly used for riding, that is, horses, mules, and donkeys, what was said about other kinds of rides appears in the future tense as follows: and he creates or will create what you do not know. Yet thus, under this very statement, included there are all newly invented transport facilities which did not exist in the past, nor was there any precise idea of what they shall be. For instance, there are railroads, automobiles, and aeroplanes. Apart from these means of transport which have been invented to date, included here are all other ways and means which will be invented and used in the future. The reason is that the creation of all these things is really nothing but the act of the absolute Creator. In it, the role of science, whether classical or modern, is no more than utilizing the God-given intelligence and understanding when handling metallic or other components also created by the same power, go through experimentations, find appropriate combinations, and construct working components. Then it can go and generate energy from the divinely endowed treasures of air, water, heat, etc. No science, classical or modern, even both combined, can create iron and copper or lighter metals, nor can it create wood, nor air, nor water. None of these come under its power or control. Science does no more than learn the art of using what has been created by divine power. All inventions of the world are simply the detail of this usage. Therefore, with a little deliberation, one is left with no choice but to accept and declare that all our new inventions, for which we seem to be so fond of congratulating our own selves, are invariably the creation of the absolute Creator. In view of its importance, let us keep in mind that the text has used the past tense, kaloka, he created, while mentioning the creation of things earlier. However, after the mention of animals commonly used for writing, the tense used, yakug, he will create, or creates, is that of future. This change clearly indicates that the word so used is for means of transport and other things which have not yet come into existence. But Allah Ta'ala has it in His knowledge as to what modes of travel and other things are to be created in times to come. All this was said in this small sentence here. It was also possible that Allah Ta'ala would have mentioned all new inventions to come into being in the future by name. But the mention of words signifying railroads, automobiles, and aeroplanes would have brought no benefit except that it would have left people bewildered in mental confusion, because the very conceptualization of such things at that time was not easy, nor were such words in use for such things anywhere so that people could make some sense out of them. My respected father, Hadrat Maulana Muhammad Yasin, may Allah have mercy on him, said, our teacher, Hadrat Maulana Muhammad Iqbal Namatawi, may Allah have mercy on him, the great teacher of teachers, used to say the railroad, has been mentioned in the Holy Qur'an. For proof, he quoted this verse. Cars, though invented, were not common in those days, while the aeroplanes were not invented yet. Therefore, he found it sufficient to mention the rail. Rulings. The Qur'an first mentioned alanan, that is, the cow and goat. Then, out of their benefits, one such benefit was declared to be the eating of their meat. Then, as separate from it, it was said, and horses, mules, and donkeys, when pointing out to their benefits, definite mention was made of their use for riding, and that they may look good by having them. But the eating of their meat has not been mentioned here. This provides the proof that the meat from horse, mule, and donkey is not halal. As for the meat from mule and donkey is concerned, the majority of fuqaha, Muslim jurists, agree upon its meat being haram, and in a hadith on the subject, its unlawfulness has been clearly stated. But in the case of horse meat, there are two conflicting narrations of hadith. One of them puts it as halal, while the other as haram. Therefore, sayings of the fuqaha of the Muslim community became divided on this religious issue. Some declared it to be halal, while others called it haram. It was because of these conflicting arguments that Imam Abu Hanifa, may Allah have mercy on him, did not call horse meat haram like the meat of a donkey or mule, but he did call it makruh, reprehensible, akam al-Qur'an by Al-Jassis, from verse Surah An-Nahl, ayat 6, and it appears that beauty and embellishment are allowed, though pride and arrogance are haram, prohibited. The difference is that the outcome of beauty and embellishment is that it makes one happy with himself, or that it shows the blessing of Allah openly. When this happens, neither does one nurse the idea in his heart that he is deserving of this blessing, nor does he take others to be low and contemptible. Instead, such a person keeps the fact that all good things of life given to him are but the gift and blessing of Allah Ta'ala foremost in his mind. Contrary to this is pride and arrogance, under which one takes himself to be deserving of this blessing while taking others to be low. That is haram, forbidden by Al-Qur'an.
And upon Allah is the direction of the right way, and among the various paths are those deviating. And if He willed, He could have guided you all.
Commentary. Presented in the previous verses was a description of the great blessings of Allah Ta'ala as rational proof of His oneness. This description of divine blessings continues later on as well. In between these two, the present verse Surah An-Nahl, ayah 9, has been introduced parenthetically for the purpose of warning that Allah Ta'ala, pursuant to His standing promise, has taken it upon Himself that He makes the straight path which takes its follower to Allah Ta'ala clear and explicit. Therefore, the objective of the presentation of divine blessings is to demonstrate proofs of the being and oneness of Allah Ta'ala. But counter to this, people have preferred to go by other crooked ways. It is unfortunate that, despite having clear signs and open proofs, they do not benefit by them. Instead, go on straying endlessly. After that it was said that Allah Ta'ala, if He had so willed, would have made all of them to compulsively be on the right path. Had He done so, it was within His power. But wisdom and expedient considerations required that there be no compulsion. Let the two paths be before everyone. Whoever elects to take whichever path should be free to take it. Everyone goes his or her way. The straight path, al-Sirat al-Mustaqim, will take people to Allah Ta'ala and Jannah, paradise, As for other crooked ways, they will take people to Jahannam, hell. Human beings have been given the power to choose whichever path they wish to take.
It is He who sends down rain from the sky. From it is drink, and from it is foliage in which you pasture animals.
Commentary. The word shajar in verse Surah An-Nahl, ayat 10, from which you grow plants, on which you pasture cattle, is mostly applied to a tree which stands on a trunk. Sometimes it is also applied in an absolute sense to everything which grows on land. Included therein are grass on stems or tendrils. This is the sense meant in this verse, because the pasturing of cattle has been mentioned immediately after, which is mostly related to grass. The last word, tusiman, is a derivation from isama, which means to leave cattle to graze freely in a pasture.
He causes to grow for you thereby the crops, olives, palm trees, grapevines, and from all the fruits. Indeed, in that is a sign for a people who give thought.
It will be noticed that all verses cited above point out to divine blessings and mention the creation of the universe with unprecedented wisdom. In them, those who ponder find significant indicators and proofs which lead them to perceive the truth of Tawhid, the truth that Allah Ta'ala is one. Therefore, while these blessings are being mentioned, they are tied up with a notice to pay attention, think, understand, and accept advice. Consequently, at the end of verse Surah An-Nahl, ayah 11, it was said, "Indeed, in that there is a sign for people who ponder." The reason is that the linkage of pastures, crops, trees, and their flowers and fruits with the creativity and wisdom of Allah Ta'ala needs some reflection. If one ponders over a grain or pit, he will come to realize that simply putting it inside the land and watering it cannot automatically cause it to grow into a huge big tree with flowers of many colors opening up all over it. No tiller or farmer or landowner has made this happen. Their role in this process is nil. All this is linked with and tied to the creativity and wisdom of the Absolute Master. After that, when came the description of the night and day, the sun, the moon, and the stars which have been made subservient by His command, it was said in the concluding sentence of verse Surah An-Nahl, ayah 12, "Indeed, in that there are signs for a people who understand." Given here is the hint that these things are of course subservient to the command of Allah, an open fact which does not need a lot of thinking. Anyone having some reason in him would understand, because there was obviously some human input in the growth of vegetation and trees, but in this case there is none.
And He has subjected for you the night and day, and the sun and moon, and the stars are subjected by His command. Indeed, in that are signs for a people who reason.
Before we move to the next verse, let us clarify the first sentence of verse Surah An-Nahl, ayah 12, "And He has subjugated for you the day and the night." Here, subjugating the day and the night means that Allah made them subservient to His command in order that they can serve man, pursuant to which the night brings comfort to him and the day smooths out the avenues of his work. Subjugating them never means that the day and the night start alternating under human command.
And He has subjected whatever He multiplied for you on the earth of varying colors. Indeed, in that is a sign for a people who remember.
Then in verse Surah An-Nahl, ayah 13, after mentioning all other varied produce of the land, it was said, "Surely in that there is a sign for a people who accept advice." The sense is that no deep thinking is needed here as well, because the proof has been furnished openly. But the condition is that one must look at it carefully and learn his lesson. Otherwise, one who has no sense or concern and who just pays no attention could hardly hope to benefit from it.
And it is He who subjected the sea for you, to eat from it tender meat, and to extract from it ornaments which you wear. And you see the ships plowing through it, and He subjected it that you may seek of His bounty, and perhaps you will be grateful.
After the description of things created in the heavens and the earth, and the benefits human beings derive from them, the text now turns to the high seas wherein divine wisdom has placed many more benefits for them. Verse Surah An-Nahl, ayah 14, which begins with the words, "And He is the one who has subjugated the sea so that you may eat," which points out to the excellent arrangement whereby they get their supply of seafood, fresh white meat from the fish. By calling the fish fresh meat, in the sentence which follows immediately, that is, so that you may eat fresh meat therefrom, a hint has also been placed within the statement that it is free of any condition of slaughtering necessary with other animals. That is, as if meat made ready without having to do so. This was the first benefit. The second benefit is identified in the sentence appearing immediately next, "And may take out from it ornaments you wear," that is, divers would dive in it and take out what the text calls hilya, translated as ornaments. The literal meaning of hilya is zina, that which beautifies, embellishes, adorns, or ornaments. Thus, the reference here is to pearls and precious coral stones which are taken out of the sea. Women wear it as necklaces or earrings. Though these ornaments are worn by women, yet the Holy Qur'an has used the word in the masculine gender, talbasanaha, that is, you wear. What has been hinted here is that the wearing of ornaments by women is, in reality, in the interest of men. That woman looks good is, in reality, the right of man. He can even compel his wife to wear dress and ornaments which look good on her. Other than that, men too can use precious stones on their rings. The third benefit of the sea appears in, and you see the boats cleaving through it, and so that you may seek his bounty. The word fulk means boat, and makara. Makar means to cleave or plow through the water. The reference is to boats and ships which traverse the sea, cleaving through the waves of the waters. The sense of the verse Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 14, is that Allah Ta'ala has made the sea one of the means of reaching distant countries. Thus, He has made it easy for human beings to travel by sea and bring in or send out their commercial goods. The text also declares it to be an excellent means of seeking the bounty of Allah, that is, their risk or sustenance, because trading through the sea routes is most economical and beneficial.
And He has cast into the earth firmly set mountains, lest it shift with you, and made rivers and roads, that you may be guided.
In verse Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 16, it was said, and He placed mountains on the earth, lest it should shake with you. The word rawasiya is the plural of risiya, which denotes a huge mountain. The word tamada is a derivation from the verbal noun made, which means to shake or swing or sway from side to side, due to loss of balance. The sense of the verse is that Allah Ta'ala has not made the sphere of the earth from components which are not solid and balanced, therefore it is heavier on one side and lighter on some other. Its necessary outcome was that the earth was to be taken as stationary, as commonly held by early thinkers, or taken to be orbitally moving, as determined by some early and most modern scientists. Under both these views, this phenomenon would have caused terrestrial turbulence, which is identified as shaking, swinging, or swaying from side to side. To stop this turbulence, and to provide a balance for the terrestrial composition, Allah Ta'ala placed on the earth the weight of mountains so that it would not shake. As for its orbital movement, like all planets, which is the commonly held view from Pythagoras to modern scientists made more explicit through contemporary experiments, it is something which the Holy Qur'an neither affirms nor rejects. In fact, this possible turbulence, which has been stopped through the use of mountains, should be more conducive to this orbital movement which is credited to the earth like other planets. Allah knows best.
And landmarks, and by the stars they are also guided.
In the last verse Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 16, it was said, and He created signs, and through stars they find the right path. Since straight-oriented travel was mentioned above, it was considered appropriate that conveniences which Allah Ta'ala has provided in the heavens and the earth designed to help travelers cover distances and reach destinations be mentioned alongside. Therefore it was said, wa'alamat, that is, we have set up many signs in the form of mountains, rivers, trees, homes, and things like that in order to help people find their way on the earth. It is obvious that, had the earth been flat, there was no way man would stray around in his effort to reach his destination. As for the last statement in the verse, that is, the way travelers know their bearing through territorial signs, quite similarly, they also find out their orientation through stars as well. The modality of the address here seems to hint that the initial purpose of the creation of the stars is, for that matter, something else. However, along with it, their additional benefit is that they help in the charting of one's course when traveling.
Then is He who creates like one who does not create? So will you not be reminded?
Commentary. Verses appearing immediately earlier described the many blessings of Allah Ta'ala in details, prove that He alone is their creator, and establish that He is unique in this matter. Now, in the present verses, there comes an admonition against the failure of people to recognize that there is a fact behind the statement describing all these blessings, and that is Tawhid, the oneness of Allah Ta'ala, except whom there is none worthy of worship. Therefore, it was said, when it stands proved that Allah alone made the heavens and the earth, made the mountains and rivers, vegetation and animals, trees and plants with their fruits and flowers, how can that most sacred being that is the creator of all these things become, for no reason, like idols and icons which cannot create anything? Why would you not understand something so elementary?
And if you should count the favors of Allah, you could not enumerate them. Indeed, Allah is forgiving and merciful.
See Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 17, for the Tafsir.
And Allah knows what you conceal and what you declare.
See Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 17, for the Tafsir.
And those they invoke other than Allah create nothing, and they themselves are created.
See Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 17, for the Tafsir.
They are in fact dead, not alive, and they do not perceive when they will be resurrected.
See Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 17, for the Tafsir.
Your God is one God, but those who do not believe in the hereafter, their hearts are disapproving and they are arrogant.
See Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 17, for the Tafsir.
Assuredly, Allah knows what they conceal and what they declare. Indeed, He does not like the arrogant.
See Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 17, for the Tafsir.
And when it is said to them, "What has your Lord sent down?" they say, "Legends of the former peoples."
Commentary. It will be recalled that, after describing the blessings of Allah and proving that He was unique in the creation of the universe, the text made a pointed reference to how the polytheists chose to stick to their own ways of error. In the present verses, the text describes how they, not content with their own straying, tried that others should also go astray like them. The punishment they would get for doing that has also been stated here. Earlier to that, there is a question about the Qur'an, and the addressees of the question at this place are the polytheists. It is their haughty and ignorant answer which has been mentioned here along with a warning of consequences for this attitude. Then, after 5 verses, Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 30, the same question has been addressed to believers who fear Allah, which is followed by their answer, and where a promise of reward for it has been mentioned. The Holy Qur'an does not explicitly say as to who asked the question. Therefore, commentators have expressed different views in this matter. Some say that the question was asked by disbelievers. Others say that it was asked by Muslims. Still others take one question to have been asked by the polytheists while the other by Muslims. But the Holy Qur'an has kept it ambiguous. This is to indicate that there is no need to as to where the question came from. What has to be seen is the answer, and more importantly, its ultimate consequence which the Qur'an has itself chosen to describe. The essence of the answer given by the polytheists is that they simply refuse to acknowledge that there was any word of Allah really revealed from Him. In fact, they dismiss the Qur'an as nothing but tales of people from early ages. Thereupon, Qur'an and admonished those unjust people for disinforming people about the Qur'an by telling them that it was nothing but the tales of the ancient whereby they make others to go astray like them. As for the consequences, these they shall have to face. It means that the total curse of their sins has to fall on them anyway on the day of judgment, but part of the curse of the evil consequences of their role in misguiding others will also fall on them. Then it was said that the burden of sins which these people are piling up on their shoulders is a terribly evil burden.
That they may bear their own burdens in full on the day of resurrection, and some of the burdens of those whom they misguide without knowledge. Unquestionably, evil is that which they bear.
See Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 24, for the Tafsir.
Those before them had already plotted, but Allah came at their building from the foundations, so the roof fell upon them from above them, and the punishment came to them from where they did not perceive.
See Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 24, for the Tafsir.
Then on the day of resurrection He will disgrace them and say, "Where are my partners for whom you used to oppose the believers?" Those who were given knowledge will say, "Indeed, disgrace this day and evil are upon the disbelievers."
See Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 24, for the Tafsir.
The ones whom the angels take in death while wronging themselves, and who then offer submission, saying, "We were not doing any evil, but yes, indeed, Allah is knowing of what you used to do."
See Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 24, for the Tafsir.
So enter the gates of hell to abide eternally therein, and how wretched is the residence of the arrogant.
See Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 24, for the Tafsir.
And it will be said to those who feared Allah, "What did your Lord send down?" They will say, "That which is good." For those who do good in this world is good, and the home of the hereafter is better, and how excellent is the home of the righteous.
See Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 24 for the Tafsir.
Gardens of perpetual residence, which they will enter, beneath which rivers flow. They will have therein whatever they wish. Thus does Allah reward the righteous.
See Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 24 for the Tafsir.
The ones whom the angels take in death, being good and pure, the angels will say, "Peace be upon you. Enter paradise for what you used to do."
See Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 24 for the Tafsir.
Do the disbelievers await anything except that the angels should come to them, or there comes the command of your Lord? Thus did those do before them, and Allah wronged them not, but they had been wronging themselves.
See Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 24 for the Tafsir.
So they were struck by the evil consequences of what they did, and were enveloped by what they used to ridicule.
See Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 24 for the Tafsir.
And those who associate others with Allah say, "If Allah had willed, we would not have worshipped anything other than Him, neither we nor our fathers, nor would we have forbidden anything through other than Him. Thus did those do before them. So is there upon the messengers except the duty of clear notification?"
Commentary. The first doubt expressed by these disbelievers was, if Allah does not like our kufr and shirk and other unlawful deeds, why would He not stop us from doing so by force? The absurdity of this doubt was all too evident. Therefore, instead of answering it, just saying words of comfort for the Holy Prophet was considered sufficient, so that he does not feel sad about such senseless questions. The reason why their doubt was absurd is also obvious. Allah Ta'ala has set up a system of this world on the basic arrangement that human beings have not been kept under compulsion totally. A kind of power to choose was given to them. If they use this choice in obedience to Allah, they have their reward for it, and if they use it to disobey Him, then there stands His promise of punishment, that there will be a day of judgment when the dead shall be resurrected and called to account for their deeds are the consequential outcome of this early warning. If Allah Ta'ala had decided that He would force everyone to obey Him, who then would have dared to remain outside the fold of obedience to Him? But His wisdom so required that such compulsion was not appropriate. Therefore, choice was given to human beings. Now, if the disbelievers were to say, had Allah disliked our ways, why would He not stop us by force? It is an absurd and hostile question.
And we certainly sent into every nation a messenger, saying, "Worship Allah and avoid Taghut." And among them were those whom Allah guided, and among them were those upon whom error was deservedly decreed. So proceed through the earth and observe how was the end of the deniers.
Has a Rasul of Allah appeared in India and Pakistan too? From verse Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 36 in the present Surah. And we did raise a messenger among every people, as well as from verse Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 24 Surah Fatir. And there is no group of people among whom there has not been a warner. Surah Fatir, Ayah 24. It outwardly appears that messengers may have also been sent to areas now known as India and Pakistan, where the residents of the area were located in another country whose deputies or emissaries had reached there. Then there is the verse of Surah Al-Qasas, so that you may warn a people unto whom came no warner. Surah Al-Qasas, Ayah 46. The sense released by the verse is that no warner had come before him to the people unto whom the Holy Prophet was sent. This can be answered by saying that this obviously refers to the people of Arabia, who became the first addressees of the prophetic mission of Sayyidina Muhammad al-Mustafa, the fact being that no prophet since Sayyidina Ismail had appeared among them. Therefore, the title given to these people in the Holy Qur'an was Ummiyan, the unlettered ones. This does not necessarily imply that no prophet came before him in the rest of the world as well. Allah knows best.
Even if you should strive for their guidance, O Muhammad, indeed, Allah does not guide those He sends astray, and they will have no helpers.
See Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 36, for the Tafsir.
And they swear by Allah their strongest oaths, that Allah will not resurrect one who dies. But yes, it is a true promise binding upon him, but most of the people do not know.
See Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 36 for the Tafsir.
It is so He will make clear to them the truth of that wherein they differ, and so those who have disbelieved may know that they were liars.
See Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 36 for the Tafsir.
Indeed, our word to a thing when we intend it is but that we say to it, be, and it is.
See Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 36 for the Tafsir.
And those who emigrated for the cause of Allah after they had been wronged, we will surely settle them in this world in a good place, but the reward of the hereafter is greater, if only they could know.
Commentary. The verb hajaru is a derivation from harat pasal, hara, which literally means to leave one's homeland. The leaving of one's homeland done for the sake of Allah is an act of great obedience and worship in Islam. The Holy Prophet said, Hara demolishes all sins that were before it. This hara is farqul, obligatory, and wajib, necessary under some situations, while it is recommended as desirable and better, mustahab under some others. Related injunctions have appeared in details under comments on verse Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 97 of Surah An-Nisa. Was not the earth of Allah wide enough that you might have sought refuge in it? Surah Al-Imran, Ayah 97, Maarif-ul-Qur'an, Volume Roman 2 mentioned here at this place are particular promises which Allah Ta'ala has made to muhajirin, those who do hara, that is, leave their homeland for His sake. How does hara bring better life in the present world? In the verses cited above, 2 great promises have been made to muhajirin subject to some conditions, to give them a good place right here in this world, and to bless them with the greater reward of the hereafter, which is limitless. The expression, a good place in the world, is highly comprehensive. It includes a good residence for the muhajir, one who does hara, as well as neighbors who are good. It also includes extended means of living, supremacy over hostile enemies, recognition and fair name among people, and honor which continues through the family and progeny. Quatubai, the background of the revelation of the verse, is basically the first hara which the noble companions made to Ethiopia. Then the probability that it may include the hara to Ethiopia as well as the hara to al-Madinah al-Munawwara which came after that. Mentioned here in this verse are the same mu'adjirin to Ethiopia with a mu'adjirin to Medina. Therefore, some scholars have said that this promise was for these blessed Sahaba, may Allah be pleased with him only, that is, those who had made their hara to Ethiopia, or those who had later done it to Medina. As for the promise of Allah, it stood already fulfilled within the present world, something witnessed openly. Everyone saw how Medina was made for them the real good place to live. Instead of hostile neighbors, they lived among those who were sympathetic, sharing and sacrificing. Enemies were conquered and subdued. Within a short period of time since their hara, doors of ample sustenance were thrown open for them. The poor and needy of yesteryears became wealthy citizens of the day. Many countries of the world came under their sway. Such were their achievements in moral greatness and beauty of conduct that they remain receiving words of praise from friends and foes alike even to this day. Allah Ta'ala blessed them with great honor in their generations as well. These were things that were to take place in this world, which they did. Now the promise of the hereafter shall also be fulfilled. But, says Abu Hayyan in his Tafsir al-Bar al-Muhit, the expression, and those who migrated, is general and inclusive of all those who leave their homeland, whatever their country or time. Therefore, this includes all muhajirin, from the very first ones down to the last among them who do their hara for the sake of Allah right up till the last day, the day of Al-Qiyamah. v. 5 Key 492. This is also as required by the general exegetic rule under which a commentator relies on the general sense of the word, even though there be a particular event or group as the prime cause of the revelation of the verse. Therefore, included in this promise are mu'adjirin of the whole world and of all times, and the fulfillment of both these promises for all mu'adjirin is certain. A similar promise has been made for mu'adjirin in the following verse of Surah An-Nisa, and whoever migrates in the way of Allah, he shall find many a place to settle and wide dimension of resources. Surah An-Nisa, Ayah 100, particularly promised wherein are spatial abundance and extensive means. But along with these promises, the Holy Qur'an has also put forth some qualifications of muhajirin and some conditions of hira as well. Therefore, those deserving of the fulfillment of these promises can only be the muhajirin who possess these qualifications and who have satisfied the desired conditions.
They are those who endured patiently and upon their Lord relied.
Out of these, the very first condition is that of fillah, for the sake of Allah, which means that the purpose of doing hajj should only be to please Allah Ta'ala, and that in it there be no selfish motives of material gains such as business or employment. The second condition is that these muhajirin be victims of injustice as stated in after they were oppressed. The third qualification is that they stay patient against initial disadvantages and difficulties, showing steadfastness and fortitude as pointed out in those who kept patient. The fourth qualification is that they, even while utilizing all available material means, make it a point to place their trust in Allah alone, for every ultimate success comes from Him alone, as described in and who place trust in their Lord. This tells us that there are initial difficulties in everything undertaken. However, should a muhajir fail to find the promised good place and favorable condition, then, instead of doubting the promise of the Qur'an, he better assess his intention, sincerity, and conduct on which these promises have been made. Once this is done, he will discover that it was but his own fault. Maybe the intention was not pure, or there was a lack of endurance and trust. Migration and hira, different kinds and their injunctions. At this point, Imam al-Qurtubi has given details about migration and hira, highlighting their difference along with some related injunctions. This is being reproduced here in view of its relevant usefulness. Quoting Ibn al-Arabi, Al-Qurtubi says that going out of the homeland and traveling through the earth is either to run from something and find a safe haven, or to seek and get something. The first kind of trip, which is to escape and be safe from something, is called hira, which is of 6 kinds, going from Dar al-Kufr, abode of disbelief, to Dar al-Islam, abode of Islam. This kind of journey was obligatory, fard, even during the days of the Holy Prophet, and it shall remain obligatory, subject to capability and ability, right through the day of the Qiyamah, when there is no security of life, property, and honor, or that it is not possible to fulfill religious obligations, the farid of din, if one continues to stay in Dar al-Harb, technically an enemy country of disbelievers at war with Muslims, one will be considered a sinner. To get out of Dar al-Bidah, abode overtaken by deviation from established religion, Ibn Qasim says that he had heard from Imam Malik, may Allah have mercy on him, that it is not halal for any Muslim to stay at a place where the early righteous elders of the Muslim community, al-Salaf al-Salihan, are criticized and maligned. After reporting this statement, Ibn al-Arabi writes that it is totally correct because, should you be unable to eradicate the practice of what is forbidden, then it becomes necessary for you that you should remove your own self from that place, and have nothing to do with it. This is as commanded by Allah Ta'ala in the Qur'an, and when you see those who indulge in our verses adversely, turn away from them. Surah Al-An'am, Ayah 68, to get out of a place overtaken by what is haram. This is because the quest for what is halal is obligatory, far on every Muslim, to move out in order to avoid being subjected to physical pain. This kind of journey is permissible. In fact, it is a blessing from Allah that one should leave a place where danger exists, that he will be physically hurt by enemies. So, this is his way out of that danger. This fourth kind of journey was first made by Sayyidina Ibrahim. It was to seek deliverance from the pain inflicted on him by his people. When he left Iraq for Syria, he had said, I am a muhajir immigrant unto my Lord. Surah Al-Ankabut, Ayah 26. After him, Sayyidina Musa made a similar journey from Egypt to Madian. He got out from there, fearing, watching Surah Al-Qasas, Ayah 21, to move out due to unsuitable climate or likely diseases. This is the fifth kind of journey, which has also been permitted by Islam, as the Holy Prophet had advised some shepherds to settle by the groves outside Medina, because the climate of the city did not suit them. Similarly, Sayyidina Umar al-Faruq, may Allah be pleased with him, had sent an executive order to Sayyidina Abu Ubaidah, may Allah be pleased with him, that he should shift the provincial capital from Jordan to some site located on a higher altitude where the climate is not bad. But this is on condition that there be no plague or other epidemic diseases affecting the area. And if an epidemic does spread out in an area, it is governed by another rule, that is, those who are already priests and there do not have to get out from that area. As for those who are outside it, they should not go in there, as it happened with Sayyidina Umar al-Faruq during his journey to Syria. When he reached the borders of Syria, he was told that a plague has spread throughout that country. Hearing that, he hesitated from entering that country. He went into repeated consultations with the Sahaba, may Allah be pleased with him, to resolve this problem. The resolution came only after Sayyidina Abdurrahman ibn al-Auf narrated a hadith in which the Holy Prophet had said, "When plague spreads in an area where you are present, do not go out from there. And when it spreads in an area where you are not already present, do not go in there, after having heard of plague." This hadith has been reported by Tirmidhi, he who calls it Hasan Sahih. At that time, Sayyidina Umar al-Faraq, may Allah be pleased with him, in obedience to the command of the hadith, proclaimed that the whole caravan shall turn back and go home. Some ulama have pointed out that this hadith has a particular element of wisdom in it. That is, the people staying in an area affected by some epidemic are most likely to be infected by its germs. If they were to run away from there, the one who is infected dangerously is not going to survive anyway, but you would infect others wherever he goes. Hence the wise decision to secure personal property and possessions. When someone feels the danger of being hit by thieves and robbers at a certain place, he should move away from there. The Sharia of Islam has permitted doing this as well, because the property and possessions of a Muslim are as sacrosanct as his or her life. These 6 kinds belong to migration, undertaken to run for safety against something. Then there's the journey undertaken to seek and get something. It has 9 kinds. The journey for moral self-correction. It means touring and traveling through Allah's earth for the particular purpose of witnessing the creation of Allah Ta'ala, the manifestations of His most perfect power, and having a spot observation of the sad end of past peoples in order to learn one's essential lesson in how to live sensibly and confidently. The Holy Qur'an has exhorted people to embark on such trips. For instance, have they not traveled around the earth and seen how was the end of those before them? Surah Fatir, Ayah 44. Ulama have identified the journey undertaken by saying, Indeed, Al-Qarnayn is a journey of this kind, while some of them suggest that his journey through the earth was to establish divine law on it. The journey of Hajj, that it is an Islamic duty subject to some conditions, is well known. The journey of Jihad, all Muslims know that it is also either obligatory, fard, or necessary, wajib, or recommended, mustahab. The journey for employment, if a person cannot find economic support for his needs in his homeland, it is incumbent on him that he travels elsewhere and look for an employment opportunity there. The journey for trading, it means traveling to acquire wealth in excess to the measure of need. According to Islamic legal norms, this too is permissible. Allah Ta'ala says, "There is no sin on you that you seek the bounty of your Lord by trading." Surah Al-Baqarah, Ayah 198. Here, by seeking of bounty in this verse, the reference is to trading. When Allah Ta'ala has allowed trading even during the Hajj trip, then undertaking that journey for the sole purpose of trading becomes permissible in the first degree. The journey for education, that it is an absolute duty in terms of religious need, and that it is an obligation of sufficiency, fard al-kifayah, an obligation which, if discharged by some, would suffice for others in terms of what is more than needed, is widely known and amply recognized. The journey to a place believing it to be sacred and blessed, this is not correct and proper except for the 3 masajid, and they are Al-Masjid al-Haram, the sacred mosque of Makkah al-Mukarramah, Al-Masjid al-Nabawi, the mosque of the Holy Prophet in Al-Madinah al-Munawwarah, Al-Masjid al-Aqsa, Bayt al-Maqdis. This is the view of Al-Qutubayyan ibn al-Arabi. Other revered scholars of early Islam and their successors have also allowed the undertaking of travel to visit places generally considered blessed. Muhammad Shafi. The journey undertaken to guard Islamic frontiers, this is known as ribat. There are many hadith reports which commend it strongly. For details on ribat, please see our comments under verse Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 200 of Surah Al-Imran in Maarif-ul-Qur'an, Volume 2, the journey to visit relatives and friends. This too has been classed as an act deserving of return and reward. A hadith of Sahih Muslim mentions the prayer of angels in favor of those who undertake a journey to visit relatives and friends, which is valid only when the purpose of meeting them is to seek the pleasure of Allah Ta'ala and not to seek any material gains. Allah knows best. Qutubai p. v. 5, Surah An-Nisa.
And we sent not before you except men to whom we revealed our message. So ask the people of the message if you do not know.
Commentary. According to Ra'al al-Ma'ani, it was after the revelation of the first verse cited above that the Mushrikin of Makkah sent their emissaries to the Jews of Medina to find out if it was true that all earlier prophets had always been from the genus of men, though included under the Quranic expression, Allah di Hikr were the people of the book and believers altogether, but it was obvious that the mushrikin, disbelievers, were to be satisfied only by the statement of non-Muslims because they themselves were not satisfied with what the Holy Prophet was telling them. So, how could they accept the statement of other Muslims? The word dhikr in the combination of dhikr, translated here as the people, having the knowledge of the message, is used to carry more than one meaning. One of these is our knowledge. It is in this sense that the Holy Qur'an has identified the Torah too as dhikr, and verily we have written in the Zabur, scripture, Psalms after the dhikr, the message Torah, Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 105. Similar to this is the statement which follows next. We sent down the message, the Qur'an, to you, Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 44. Here, the word ad-dhikr means the Qur'an. Therefore, al-dhikr literally means the people of knowledge, as refined in the cited translation, and who are those referred to as al-ilm, or the people of knowledge at this place. As apparent in this case, they refer to the scholars among the people of the book, the Jews and Christians. This is the view of Sayyid ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, Hassan, and as Sadi and others. Then there are scholars who have taken ad-dhikr at this place as well in the sense of al-Qur'an, and thus explain al-dhikr in the sense of al-Qur'an. However, the clearest position taken in this matter is that of Rahmani, Sajjad and Najari. They say al-dhikr means authentic historians of past peoples based on this investigative position. This definition includes therein the people of the book, the Jews and Christians, and the people of the Qur'an, the Muslims as well. The word al-Bayyinat in verse Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 44 means clear signs and miracles, the later being more aptly applicable here. The word Zubara, which means large pieces of iron, as in, give me pieces of the iron, Surah Al-Kahf, Ayah 96. Because of the relevance of putting pieces together, writing is called Zabar, and a written book is known as Az-Zibr, with its plural as Az-Zabr. In short, at this point, it means the Book of Allah, which includes Torah, Injil, Zabur, and Qur'an. Non-mujtahids must follow mujtahid imams, the essence of taqlid. Though the sentence, so ask the people, having the knowledge of the message, if you do not know, has appeared at this place in relation with a particular subject, but its words are general and are inclusive of all other matters of concern. Therefore, given the weight Qur'an has with words, this is really an important rule of procedure based on reason and revelation both, that is, those who do not know injunctions revealed for them ask those who do, and act accordingly. It is as simple as that. So, it is the duty of those who do not know that they should act in accordance with what they are told by those who do. This is what taqlid, to follow and trust, is. Not only that it is an explicit command of the Qur'an, there is just no other way the mass practice of religion can be achieved, even if it was to be argued rationally. This rule has been in practice throughout the Muslim community right from the age of the noble Sahaba to this day, without any division or difference. Even those who disavow taqlid do not reject the kind of taqlid under which those who are not alim, knowledgeable in religion, should take fatwa from the ulama and act accordingly. And it is obvious that, even if the ulama were to give proof of their view from the Qur'an and Sunnah to masses of people who are unaware, they would still accept these arguments and proofs on the authority of, and trust and confidence in the same ulama. They themselves do not have the ability to understand and assess arguments and proofs presented. And taqlid is nothing but that one who does not know places his trust and confidence in someone who knows and accepts the injunction in question as the injunction of the Sharia, and acts accordingly. This is one taqlid, the justification of which, in fact, the necessity of which leaves no room for any difference. However, as for ulama, who themselves have the ability to understand Qur'an and Hadith and know the places where consensus, exists, they are free to act, in the case of such injunctions as have been clearly and explicitly mentioned in Qur'an and Hadith, and in which there exists no difference among the learned Sahaba and Tabi'in as well. In these they can act directly according to Qur'an, Hadith, and In these matters, ulama need not follow taqlid, any mujtahid. But there are particular injunctions and rulings which have not been explicitly spelt out in Qur'an and Sunnah, or wherein there appears to be some contradiction in the ayat, verses of the Qur'an and the ruwayah, narrations of Hadith, or in which there has come up some difference among the Sahaba and Tabi'in in determining the meaning of Qur'an and Sunnah. Such rulings and injunctions are the object of ijtihad. In the terminology of Islamic fiqh, jurisprudence, these are called issues and problems in which ijtihad is possible. The rule which governs this is that an alien who does not possess the class and rank of ijtihad, he too must follow one of the mujtahid imams in these issues. Just relying on personal opinion, preferring one verse or narration and going by it while dismissing another verse or narration as less weightier is something not permissible for him. Similarly, there are particular injunctions not mentioned explicitly in the Quran and Sunnah. To deduce these out employing the principles provided by the Quran and Sunnah, and to arrive at and determine their precise Islamic legal operative order, Al-Hakam Ash'ari, is the functional prerogative of only those mujtahids of the Muslim Ummah who occupy the highest station of expertise in the Arabic language, its lexicography, idioms and modalities of usage, and who possess an additional mastery over all fields of knowledge related to Quran and Sunnah, and above all, who are credited with a conduct of life marked by exemplary piety and God-fearingness. Such people are no less than the great Imam Abu Hanifa, Shafi'i, Malik, Ahmad ibn Hanbal, or Auza'i, Jurist Abu Layth, and others like them. These were people Allah Ta'ala had specially blessed. They lived closer to the age of prophethood, and that of the Sahaba and the Tabi'in. Under the canopy of this barakah, Allah Ta'ala had bestowed upon them a very special taste of understanding the principles and objectives of the Sharia, and an equally special expertise of extracting textually non-prescribed mansis laws from the laws already prescribed in the sacred texts. Mansis, by using the methodology of analogical deduction, qiyas, now in such issues and problem where ijtihad efforts have been exhausted at the highest conceivable level. It is necessary even for the ulama at large that they must follow one of the mujtahid imams. Going by any new opinion contrary to that of the mujtahid imams is error. This is why great men of learning, ulama, muhaddithin and fuqaha like Imam al-Ghazali, Razi, Tirmidhi, Tahawi, Mazini, Ibn Humam, Ibn Qudama, and hundreds and thousands of early and later men of learning of the same standard, despite their high expertise in fields of Arabicism and Islamic religious law, have always remained voluntarily restricted to following mujtahid imams invariably. They never considered it permissible to give a fatwa following their own opinion, contrary to all mujtahid imams. Nonetheless, these blessed souls did have that standard ranking in learning and piety that they assessed the sayings of the mujtahid imams on the anvil of proofs from the Quran and Sunnah, after which they would go by the saying of the imam which they found, out of the sayings of the mujtahid imams, closest to the Quran and Sunnah. But they never thought it to be permissible either to depart from the approach taken by mujtahid imams or to hold some opinion contrary to all of them. The essential reality of taqlid is no more than what has been stated here. After that came a gradual decline in the standards of knowledge, and what was originally based on taqwa and godliness came to be contaminated with personal interests and preferences. Under such conditions, given the kind of liberty that people could go by the saying of any one imam in a religious problem of their choice and opt for the saying of some other imam in some other problem they choose, the inevitable outcome would be that people would start following their worldly desires in the name of following the Sharia by opting for the saying of an imam which is more conducive to the fulfillment of their worldly desire. This is, as obvious, no following of a religion or Sharia. In fact, this would be the following of one's own interests and desires, which is haram by the consensus of the entire Muslim Ummah. In Muwafaqat, Allama Shatibi has dealt with this subject in great details. And Ibn Taymiyyah too, despite his opposition to taqlid at large, has rated this type of following in his fatwa as being haram by the consensus of the Muslim Ummah. Therefore, later-day jurists of Islam considered it necessary that all those who act according to the precepts of the Sharia should be made to follow only one of the mujtahid imams. From here began what was to be known as personal following, taqlid shakhsi, which, in reality, is a functional operative order to keep the system of religion intact so that people do not succumb to following their own desires under the cover of religion. This is precisely what Sayyidina Uthman al-Ghani, may Allah be pleased with him, did with the total agreement of the noble Sahaba, when he restricted the 7 versions of the Quran to only one version, though all 7 versions were reading of the Quran and were revealed through Angel Jibril as wished by the Holy Prophet. But when the Holy Quran spread all over non-Arab countries, the danger that it might be altered or interpolated because of its 7 readings became acute. So, it was by a total agreement of the Sahaba that Muslims were instructed to write and recite the Quran in one version only. Sayyidina Uthman al-Ghani, may Allah be pleased with him, arranged to have all copies of the Quran written according to this one version, which he dispatched to various parts of the world. The entire Muslim Ummah follows this Quran even to this day. This never means that other versions were not true or authentic. The fact is that this one version was taken to in the interest of a better management of religious affairs, and so that the Quran stays protected against any possible alterations or interpolations. Similarly, all mujtahid imams are true. When one of them is chosen to be followed, it never means that other imams are not worthy of being followed. Far from it. It is only a functional arrangement. One decides for himself in terms of his conveni, and say he has in following a particular imam. But while doing so, he also considers other imams as worthy of the same respect. All this discussion is based on the theory of Allama ibn Jarir, may Allah have mercy on him, about the 7 versions. For detailed treatment of the subject, please see my introduction at the beginning of Volume I. Muhammad Taqi Usmani. This is totally similar to a situation where it is considered necessary that only one of the many physicians present in town be chosen and assigned particularly for the treatment of a sick person. The reason is that it is not advisable for the patient that he goes about following his personal opinion in using the prescription of one physician at some time and that of another physician at some other time. Such a method of seeking solutions to one's medical problem is patently fatal. It should be understood that the choice of a specific physician made by the patient for his treatment never means that other physicians are no experts or lack the capability of proper treatment. The reality of the different juristic schools Hanafi, Shafi'i, Maliki, and Hanbali that emerged in the Muslim Ummah was no more than what has been stated. As for giving it the touch of sectarianism and factionalism or increasing the heat of mutual confrontation and dissension is concerned, it is no valid mission of the revealed religion, nor have the discerning and far-sighted ulama ever considered it good. That which happened was that scholarly debate and research by some ulama became colored with polemics which later reached the level of blames and satirical remarks. Then came ignorance, faced confrontation which brought people to the outer limit where this state of affairs became the very indicator of being religious. So, before Allah it is a complaint, and there is no strength, and there is no power except with Allah, the High, the Great. Note of caution. What has been written here on the religious question of taqlid and ijtihad is only a very brief summary of the subject, which is sufficient for Muslims at large. As for scholarly research and details of the subject, they are present in books of Usul al-Fiqh. Worth mentioning are Kitab al-Muwafaqat by al-Mashadabai, the Roman 4, Bab al-Ijtihad, Kitab Ihim al-Akam by al-Allama Saifuddin al-Amidi, the Roman 3, al-Qaid al-Thalathafai al-Mujtahidin Hadfatulahil, Balidan al-Jid by Hadrat Shah Waliyullah ad-Duwawi, and Kitab al-Iktisafai at-Taqlid wi al-Ijtihad by Hadrat Maulana Ashraf al-Thanbadi. Interested scholars may wish to refer back to them.
We sent them with clear proofs and written ordinances, and we revealed to you the message that you may make it clear to the people what was sent down to them, and that they might give thought.
Hadith is necessary to understand Quran. The rejection of hadith is really the rejection of the Quran. The word ad-dhikr in verse Surah An-Nahl, ayah 44, and we sent down the message, ad-dhikr, the Quran, so that you explain to the people, means, by consensus, the Holy Quran, and in this verse, the Holy Prophet has been given the assignment of explaining the meaning of verses revealed to him before people. Herein lies an open proof that the correct understanding of the realities, insights, and injunctions of the Holy Quran depends on the statement of the Prophet of Islam, Muhammad al-Mustafa. If everyone, by simply acquiring the knowledge of Arabic language and literature, were to become capable of understanding the injunctions of the Quran, and as divinely intended, then the mission of explaining a sign to the Holy Prophet would have been rendered meaningless. In Al-Muwafaqat, Al-Mashadabai has provided detailed proof that the Sunnah of the Holy Prophet, the whole of it, is the explanation of the Book of Allah, because the Quran has said about the Holy Prophet, and surely you are at the height of a sublime nature. Surah Al-Kalam, ayah 4, which was explained by Sayyidat Isha, may Allah be pleased with him, by saying, the Quran was his sublime nature. Thus, the outcome is that every word and deed which provenly issued forth from the Holy Prophet is nothing but what was said by the Quran. Some of these are the explanation of a verse of the Holy Quran, and in express and obvious terms, while in some cases there appears no express mention about them in the Holy Quran, but they are nonetheless based on some kind of revelation, though it was not made part of the Holy Quran. Thus, that too, in a certain way, comes under the operative purview of the Quran itself. This is because according to the clarification of the Quran, nothing that he says is prompted by his personal desire, instead of which it is a wahi, revelation, from Allah Ta'ala, and nor does he talk from desire. It is nothing but a revelation revealed. Surah An-Najm, ayah 3-4. This tells us that all acts of worship, dealings with people, personal morals and habits of the Holy Prophet were, all of them, through divine revelation and have the same authority as that of the Qur'an. Then there are occasions when he has done something as based on his ijtihad, in which case it is ultimately either through divine revelation or through an absence of any restraining order corrected and supported. Therefore, that too stands empowered with the authority of wahi, revelation. To sum up, it can be said that this verse has declared that the purpose for which the Holy Prophet was sent is the explaining of the Qur'an. This purpose of his mission in this world has also been mentioned in several verses of Surah Al-Jumu'ah, and elsewhere too, where it has been referred to as the ta'alim of al-kitab, or teaching of the book. Now turn your attention to the great treasure of hadith, which one of the most talented and intellectually peerless people of our community, right from the Sababa and Tabi'in all the way to the Muhaddithin of the later period, have guarded more than their lives and delivered it to the Muslim Ummah as fait accompli. These were people who spent their whole lives sifting through this treasure and went on to establish the categories of hadith narrations. As for narrations which they did not find matching enough in authority for the purpose of basing Islamic legal injunctions on them, these they have separated from the treasure of hadith. Instead, they have simply written standard books based exclusively on these narrations, which have proved correct and reliable after lifelong criticisms and researches. If today a person calls this treasure of hadith unreliable under one or the other pretext or artifice, it plainly means that the Holy Prophet acted against this Quranic injunction when he did not explain what the Quran had said, or that he had explained it but his explanation did not remain preserved for posterity. Under either of the two conditions, it is being suggested that the Quran has not remained protected as to its meaning, the responsibility of protecting which has been undertaken by Allah Ta'ala himself. We ourselves have sent down the Dhikr, the Quran, and we are there to protect it. Surah Al-Hayr, Ayah 9. This claim or inference of such a person is contrary to this textual authority, Nas of the Quran. From here it stands proof that a person who refuses to accept the Sunnah of the Holy Prophet as a binding authority of Islam is in reality a denier of the Quran itself. Na'udhu billah. May Allah protect us from it.
Then, do those who have planned evil deeds feel secure that Allah will not cause the earth to swallow them, or that the punishment will not come upon them from where they do not perceive?
Commentary. In verses appearing previously, then on the day of judgment, he will put them to disgrace. Disbelievers were warned against the punishment of the hereafter. In the present verses, they have been further warned that it is also possible that they are caught in the punishment from Allah right here in this world much before the punishment of the hereafter. Maybe you are sunk into the earth you are sitting on, or you are seized by the punishment of Allah coming from a direction totally inconceivable for you. This is how it happened during the Battle of Badr, when they received a punishment at the hands of some ragtag Muslims arrayed against their 1,000-strong armed young men, something they would have never perceived as possible. Or it was also probable that they be seized by some divine punishment while roaming about freely, such as they be hit by a fatal disease, or that they run into an accident by falling down from some height, or simply died by colliding against some hard object. Also possible is yet another form of punishment, when punishment may not come all of a sudden, but a general decrease sets in, causing wealth, health, fitness, means of sustenance and comfort and peace go on shrinking so much so that the day comes when the people so punished disappear from the face of the earth for /good. The word takawaf appearing in verse Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 47 is obviously a derivation from khawf, fear, apprehension. Some commentators have explained this verse in terms of this very sense by saying that one group of people be seized in punishment so that the second group gets apprehensive. Similarly, the second group is seized in punishment, which makes the third group become apprehensive. Finally, struck with dread sequentially, comes the end for all of them. By the early exegete of the Quran, Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, and Mujahid and other imams of Tafsir have taken the word takawaf in the sense of 10x. So it is in accordance with this Tafsir that it has also been translated in the later sense of reducing or decreasing gradually. The noble Tabi'i Sa'd ibn al-Musayyab says, when Sayyidina Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, also faced some hesitation about the sense of this word, he addressed the Sahaba from the minbar and asked them as to what they understood to be the meaning of takawaf. The audience at large remained silent, but a person from the tribe of Hudhayl submitted, O Commander of the Faithful, this is a particular idiom of our tribe. We use this word in the sense of 10x, that is, to decrease gradually. Sayyidina Umar asked, do the Arabs use this word in the sense of 10x in their poetry? He said that they do, and cited a couplet by Abu Kabir al-Hudhali, a poet from his tribe, in which this word was used in the sense of decreasing gradually. Thereupon Sayyidina Umar said, O people, learn about the poetry of Jahiliyyah, because there lies the key to the explanation of your book and the sense of your speech. For the understanding of Quran, a passing knowledge of Arabic is not sufficient. The first thing the report referred to above proves is that the ability to speak and write the Arabic language is not enough for the understanding of Quran. Rather, necessary for this purpose is a level of efficiency and awareness which could help one understand the classical work done during the early period of the Arabs of Jahiliyyah, because the Qur'an has been revealed in that language and idiom. Learning Arabic literature on that level is incumbent on Muslims. Reading poets from Jahiliyyah is permissible, even if full of pagan absurdities. This also tells us that, in order to understand the Qur'an and to understand the Arabic language and its usage during the period of Jahiliyyah, it is permissible to read and teach the poetry of that period, though it is obvious that such poetry will be full of pagan themes and customs highlighting pagan sayings and doings counter to Islam. But such was the need to understand the Qur'an that reading and teaching it was declared to be permissible.
Or that he would not seize them during their usual activity, and they could not cause failure.
See Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 45, for the Tafsir.
Or that he would not seize them gradually in a state of dread, but indeed your Lord is kind and merciful.
Even the punishment of the world is mercy in disguise. In the verses cited above, after having mentioned various punishments which could seize disbelievers within this world, it was said in the end, So indeed your Lord is very kind, very merciful. First of all, by using the word Rab, Lord, here the hint given is that all these punishments which overtake human beings in this world are there to warn them as part of the dictates of divine mercy. After that, by introducing the word Raf, kind, headed by the intensifying particle lam, that is, the lam of ta'kid, and thus by placing stress on the fact that Allah Ta'ala was very kind and very merciful, the hint given was that warnings sent during the life of the world were in reality called for by His intrinsic kindness and mercy, so that heedless men and women would learn from the warning and correct their deeds. Before comes the last spasm of mass extinction they themselves are talking about at the closing of the 20th century, but are still not ready to learn, believe, and correct.
Have they not considered what things Allah has created? Their shadows incline to the right and to the left, prostrating to Allah, while they are humble.
See Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 47, for the Tafsir.
And to Allah prostrates whatever is in the heavens and whatever is on the earth of creatures, and the angels as well, and they are not arrogant.
See Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 47, for the Tafsir.
They fear their Lord above them, and they do what they are commanded.
See Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 47, for the Tafsir.
And Allah has said, Do not take for yourselves two deities. He is but one God, so fear only me.
See Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 47, for the Tafsir.
And to Him belongs whatever is in the heavens and the earth, and to Him is due worship constantly. Then is it other than Allah that you fear?
See Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 47, for the Tafsir.
And whatever you have of favor, it is from Allah. Then when adversity touches you, to Him you cry for help.
See Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 47, for the Tafsir.
Then when He removes the adversity from you, at once a party of you associates others with their Lord.
See Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 47, for the Tafsir.
So they will deny what we have given them. Then enjoy yourselves, for you are going to know.
See Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 47, for the Tafsir.
And they assign to what they do not know a portion of that which we have provided them. By Allah, you will surely be questioned about what you used to invent.
See Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 47, for the Tafsir.
And they attribute to Allah daughters, exalted is He, and for them is what they desire.
See Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 47, for the Tafsir.
And when one of them is informed of the birth of a female, his face becomes dark and he suppresses grief.
Commentary. In these verses, two peculiar traits of the disbelievers of Arabia have been censured. To begin with, they would take the birth of a baby girl to be so bad that they would go about hiding from people to avoid being disgraced before them. This predicament would then throw them into a fix as to what they should do about it. Should they swallow their pride, embrace the disgrace of becoming the father of a baby girl and resign to the disaster with patience, or just ditch it alive into the dust and get rid of it? Then, on top of it, they had turned so irrational that the child they did not like to have as their own, that they would be audacious enough to attribute to Allah Almighty by declaring that the angels were his daughters.
He hides himself from the people because of the ill of which he has been informed. Should he keep it in humiliation or bury it in the ground? Unquestionably, evil is what they decide.
The sense of the sentence, beware evil is what they decide, appearing at the end of the second verse Surah An-Nahl. Ayah 59 actually incorporates these very two traits, as it has been pointed out in Tafsir al-Muhit with reference to Ibn Atiyah. It means that their decision to take girls to be a punishment and a disgrace is by itself an evil decision, and that the thing they would consider a matter of disgrace for their own selves, they would be too ready to attribute to Allah Ta'ala.
For those who do not believe in the hereafter is the description of evil, and for Allah is the highest attribute, and He is exalted in might, the wise.
Also at the end of the third verse Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 60 and He is the mighty, the wise, there is a hint that taking the birth of a baby girl to be nuisance and disgrace, and hiding from people because of it, amount to challenging divine wisdom as the creation of male and female among the created, is the very requisite of wisdom. Bayan ruling. Clear indications are visible in these verses that taking the birth of a girl in the family to be a disaster or disgrace is not permissible under Islam. This is done by disbelievers. Quoting Surah, Tafsir al-Bayan also says that a Muslim should be happier at the birth of a girl in the family so that it becomes a refutation of the act of the people of Jahiliyyah. Says a hadith, blessed is the woman who gives birth to a girl in her first pregnancy. That the Arabic word, Innaf, females, has been made to precede the word for males in the verse of the Qur'an. He bestows on whomsoever he wills females and bestows on whomsoever he wills males. Surah Ash-Shura, Ayah 49, indicates that the birth of a girl from the first pregnancy is better. In another hadith it is said, whoever finds any of such girls entrusted to his care, and he treats them fairly and favorably, then these girls will stand as a curtain between him and hell. Al-Bayan. To sum up, it can be said that taking the birth of a girl to be bad is a detestable custom of the pagan period. Muslims must abstain from it. In fact, they should be pleased and satisfied with the promise of Allah against it. Allah knows best.
And if Allah were to impose blame on the people for their wrongdoing, He would not have left upon the earth any creature, but He defers them for a specified term. And when their term has come, they will not remain behind an hour, nor will they precede it.
See Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 60, for the Tafsir.
And they attribute to Allah that which they dislike, and their tongues assert the lie that they will have the best from Him. Assuredly, they will have the fire, and they will be therein neglected.
See Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 60, for the Tafsir.
By Allah, we did certainly send messengers to nations before you, but Satan made their deeds attractive to them. And he is the disbelievers' ally today as well, and they will have a painful punishment.
See Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 60, for the Tafsir.
And we have not revealed to you the book, O Muhammad, except for you to make clear to them that wherein they have differed, and as guidance and mercy for a people who believe.
See Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 60, for the Tafsir.
And Allah has sent down rain from the sky and given life thereby to the earth after its lifelessness. Indeed, in that is a sign for a people who listen.
See Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 60, for the Tafsir.
And indeed, for you in grazing livestock is a lesson. We give you drink from what is in their bellies, between excretion and blood, pure milk, palatable to drinkers.
Commentary. The pronoun in Butanaya, their bellies, reverts back to al-anam, cattle. Since the word al-anam is plural in the feminine gender, it required that the word used for it should have been butaniha, as it appears in Surah Al-Mu'minun. We provide you out of what there is in their bellies. Surah Al-Mu'minun, Ayat 21. Al-Qurtubi explains this by saying that consideration has been made of the meaning of the plural in Surah Al-Mu'minun, where the pronoun has been used in the feminine gender, and in Surah An-Nahl, the pronoun has been used in the masculine gender in consideration of the plural word as such. Examples of this usage abound in Arabic, where a singular pronoun is made to revert to a plural word. As for bringing out pure milk from between feces and blood, Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, said, when the fodder eaten by an animal settles in its stomach, the stomach heats it up, as a result of which the waste byproduct from the fodder settles down, leaving milk above with blood being on top of it. Then nature has entrusted the next job with the liver. It separates the three and directs them to where they belong. Blood goes to veins. Milk goes to the udder of the animal. Now, left in the stomach is waste, which is excreted as feces or dung. Rulings. From this verse we learn that eating good food is not against Zuhd, the way of life marked by not inclining towards worldly enjoyments for the sake of maintaining an ideal state of spiritual purity, especially when it has been acquired with halal, lawful means, and provided that no extravagance has been made in it. This is stated by Hadrat Hassan al-Basri. May Allah have mercy on him. Al-Qurtubi, the Holy Prophet has said, when you eat something, say, "Why Allah, bless it for us and have us eat better than it." And he said, when you drink milk, say, "Allah, bless it for us and give us more of it." In the second prayer, he did not ask for something better than it, as in the first prayer, for in human cuisine, there is no nutrient better than milk. Therefore, nature has made milk the very first food given to every man and animal through breastfeeding by mothers. Al-Qurtubi.
And from the fruits of the palm trees and grapevines you take intoxicant and good provision. Indeed, in that is a sign for a people who reason.
Commentary. Described in the previous verses were blessings of Allah Ta'ala, which manifest the stunning marvel of divine power and creativity. Of these, the first to be mentioned was milk, which nature has gifted human beings with after having made it go through its own processing in the bellies of animals, separating it from feces and blood and delivering it as a finished product, pure and pleasant, food and drink in one. No subsequent human effort or artifice is needed here. Therefore, the word used in the text is in Muskakum. We provided you with milk to drink. The stress is self-explanatory. After that, it was said that human beings do make things from some fruits of the date, palms and grapevines as well, which serve them as food and other benefits. The hint ingrained here is that there is some intervening role played by human ingenuity, innovation and artifice in making the fruits from date palms and grapevines yield what they eat or benefit from in other ways. As a result of the factor of intervention, two kinds of things were made. The first is what intoxicates, the common form of which is liquor. The second is rizq, that is, good provision, like dates and grapes, which everyone is welcome to use as fresh food or dried and stored it for later use. The purpose is that Allah Ta'ala, in His perfect power, has given to human beings fruits like dates and grapes, and along with it, He also gave human beings the choice to make things they eat and drink out of them. Now the option is theirs. Let them make what they would, make what intoxicates and knocks their reason out, or make food out of them and get strength and energy. According to this tafsir, this verse cannot be used to prove the lawfulness of that which intoxicates, that is, liquor. This is because the purpose here is to state the nature of divine blessings and the different forms it could take when used. It goes without saying that these remain the divine blessings there under all conditions. Take the example of foods, drinks, and many things of benefit. People use them. Some also use them in ways which are not permissible. But the incidence of someone using things wrongfully would not stop a blessing from remaining the blessing it is. Therefore, this is no place to go into details as to which of the uses is lawful, and which is otherwise and unlawful. Nevertheless, not to be missed here is the delicate hint given by setting up rizq, good provision, in contrast with sakar, intoxicant, which tells us that sakar is not a good provision. According to the majority of commentators, sakar means what intoxicates. Ra al-Mahani, quoted by Jassas, these verses are Makki by consensus. As for the unlawfulness of liquor, it came after that in Madinah. Though liquor was lawful at the time of the revelation of this verse and Muslims used to drink openly, yet, even at that time, a hint was given in this verse towards the fact that drinking of liquor was not good. After that came the specific injunctions of the Qur'an, and which made liquor haram, unlawful, clearly, emphatically, and categorically. Condensed from Al-Jassas and Al-Qurtubi.
And your Lord inspired to the bee, take for yourself among the mountains houses, and among the trees, and in that which they construct.
Some ulama have also taken it to mean vinegar, or non-intoxicating wine, nabi, jasas kolu by, but it is not necessary to report details about this element of difference. Commentary. The first word, wawa, in the first sentence of verse Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 68 has not been used here in its technical sense of way or revelation. Instead, it appears here in its literal sense, which happens when the speaker communicates to the addressee something particular, secretly, in a way that the other person remains unable to understand that which has been communicated. Hence, its translation as revealed is also in a literal sense. As for the next word, An-Nahl, it is well established that the honeybee is a distinct entity among non-human life forms, particularly in terms of its intelligence and management. Therefore, the way it has been addressed by Allah Ta'ala shows a distinct elegance of its own. For the rest of the creation, particularly for life forms in the animal and insect kingdom, it was said, He gave everything its form, then provided it with guidance. Surah Taha, Ayah 50, something stated as a universal law for all of them. But for this tiny creature, it was specially said, and your Lord revealed, which has been designed to indicate that it has a prominent status among other life forms by virtue of its intelligence, sense and functional insight. The intelligence of the honeybees can be gauged fairly well by their system of governance. The system of this tiny flyer's life operates on the principles of human politics and government. All management rests with one big bee, which is the ruling head of all bees. It is her managerial skill and efficient distribution of work which helps run the whole system soundly and safely. Certainly so unique is her system, and so established are its rules and regulations that human mind has but to marvel at the phenomena of the bee. This queen itself lays 6,000 to 12,000 eggs in a period of 3 weeks. By its size, physique, and demeanor, it is distinguishable from other bees. This queen, following the principle of division of labor, appoints its subjects to handle different matters. Some of them serve on guard duty, and do not allow some unknown outsider to enter into the hive. Some stand to protect eggs. Some nurture and train baby bees. Some serve as architects and engineers. The compartments of most roofs made by them range between 20 to 30,000. Some bees collect and deliver wax to architects which build homes. They procure this wax material from a whitish powder settled upon vegetation. This material is commonly visible on sugarcane. Some of them sip on different kinds of fruits and flowers and suck their juices, which turns into honey while in their bellies. This honey is their food and the food of their children. And the same is for all of us too, the essence of taste and nutrition, and the prescription of medicine and remedy. These different parties discharge their assigned duties very enthusiastically and obey the command of their queen most obediently. If one of them happens to perch on filth, the guards of the hive stop the unwary worker on the outside gate, and the queen kills it. One can only wonder about this system and the performance of its managers and workers. Al-Jawahir, the first instruction given through your Lord revealed, appears in the next sentence, make homes in the mountains, which mentions the making of homes. At this point, it is worth noting that every animal makes some sort of a sheltered arrangement to live anyway. Then, why is it that bees have been particularly commanded to build homes, and that too with such considered attention? Furthermore, the word used here is that of bayat, which is generally used for the places where human beings live, their homes. By doing this, 2 hints have been given. The first hint is towards the fact, since bees have to prepare honey, therefore they should first make a safe home. The second hint is toward another fact. The homes they make will not be like the homes of common animals. Instead, their design and construction will be extraordinary. As such, their homes are highly distinct, far different from those of other animals, virtually mind-boggling. Their homes are hexagonal in shape. Measuring them with a pair of compasses and rulers will hardly spell out the difference. Other than the hexagonal shape, they never choose any shape such as that of a square, pentagon, or any others, as some of their corners turn out to be functionally useless. Allah Ta'ala did not simply order the bees to make homes, He also told them as to where they should be located. That is, it should be at some altitude, because such places help provide fresh, clean, and almost filtered airflow for the production of honey. Thus, honey stays protected from polluted air as well as from instances of breakage or damage to the hives. So it was said, make homes in the mountains, in the trees, and in the structures they raise, so that honey could be prepared in a hygienically safe way. This was the first instruction.
Then eat from all the fruits and follow the ways of your Lord laid down for you. There emerges from their bellies a drink, varying in colors, in which there is healing for people. Indeed, in that is a sign for a people who give thought.
The second instruction appears in men. Eat from all the fruits, where the bee is being commanded to suck juices from fruits and flowers as it desires and likes. No doubt what is said here is, from all the fruits, but obviously, the word kul, used here does not mean the fruits and flowers of the whole world. Instead of that, it means those within easy reach, and which serve the desired purpose. This word kul has also appeared in relation to the event concerning the Queen of Saba, where it was said, "She has got everything." Surah An-Nahl, ayat 23. It is obvious that all or every in this sense do not denote totality without exception to the limit that the Queen of Saba be required to have a personal airplane, Rolls-Royce, and palace train. What is meant here is what she needed to have as complement to her function as the ruler of the time. So here too the expression, "from all the fruits," means nothing but this. As for the bee sucking juices from fruits and flowers, it can be said that the molecular composition of juices she sucks is extremely refined and precious, the extraction of which in identical measure through mechanical means, even in our advanced scientific age, cannot be accomplished as efficiently. Then comes the third instruction, "and go along the pathways of your Lord made easy for you." When the bee goes to suck juices from fruits and flowers to places far away from home, then, obviously enough, its return to home base should have been difficult. But Allah Ta'ala has made flight routes easy for it. Thus, it goes miles away and returns home without straying or getting lost. Allah Ta'ala has made for it flying routes in the air, because in going by the circuitous pathways on land, there is the likelihood of going astray. So it can be said that Allah Ta'ala has subjugated the air space for this humble beast so that it can go home without any let or hindrance. After that, the real outcome of this revealed command was stated in the following words: "From their bellies comes out a drink of various colors in which there is cure for people." The difference in color is caused by the difference of climate and by what they suck from. This is the reason why a particular area with abundance of particular kinds of fruits and flowers does leave its effect and taste on the honey produced in that area. Since honey comes in the form of a liquid substance, therefore it was called sharab, drink. Even in this sentence present there is a decisive proof of the oneness and power of Allah Ta'ala. Is it not that this tasty and blissful drink comes out from the belly of a tiny animal which, in itself, is armed with poison? The emergence of antidote from poison is really a unique exhibit of the most perfect power of Allah Ta'ala. Then, such is the staggering working of nature that milk from milked animals does not turn red or yellow under the effect of different climates and foods, while honey from the bee does take different colors. As for the oft-quoted statement, in which there is cure for people, it can be said that honey is, on the one hand, an energy-giving food as well as a delicacy in terms of taste and flavor, while on the other hand, it serves as a remedial prescription for diseases too. And why not? This delicate mobile machine, which goes about extracting pure and powerful essences from all kinds of fruits and flowers, after which it returns home to store them in its safe compartment specially designed, constructed and guarded for a purpose. Now, if natural herbs and plants contain ingredients which have medicinal and curative properties, why would everything disappear from their essences? Honey is used as medicine directly in phlegmatic diseases, while in other diseases it is recommended in combination with other ingredients. Expert physicians in the Greek or Arab medical tradition include it specially as a binder in their medicinal lectuaries. Another property of honey is that it does not get spoiled itself, and on top of it, it helps preserve other things as well for a long time. This is the reason why Eastern physicians have been using it as an alternative alcohol for thousands of years. Honey is laxative and proves efficient in expelling unhealthy substances from the stomach. As Sahabi mentioned the sickness of his brother before the Holy Prophet, he advised him to give his brother a drink of honey. He returned the next day and reported that his brother was still sick. He repeated his advice. On the third day, when he again said that there was no change in his condition, he said, "The word of Allah is true. The stomach of your brother is a liar." The sense was that there is nothing wrong with the suggested remedy. It was the particular temperamental condition which had caused delay in the actual effect of the remedy. When the treatment with honey was repeated after that, the patient got well. At this place in the Holy Qur'an, the word shifa, remedy, cure, bliss, appears as common noun, nakura, in the context of an affirmative sentence. That it is shifa for every disease is not apparent on this basis. But the nunation, tanwin, of shifa, which carries the sense of greatness, does necessarily prove that the shita in honey is of a great and distinct nature. Then there are those spiritually valiant servants of Allah who just have no doubt about honey being a cure for any disease whatsoever. So firmly convinced they are with their staunch belief in the very outward meaning of this statement of their Rab that they would treat an abscess or an eye with honey, not to mention other diseases of the body. According to reports about, say, Ibn Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, even if an abscess showed up on his body, he would treat it by applying honey on it. When some of the people asked him as to why would he do that, he said in reply, "Is it not that Allah has said about it in the Holy Qur'an, till the ayah in it, there is cure for people, al-Qur'an. Allah Ta'ala deals with his servants in harmony with the belief they have about their Rabb. It was said in Hadith Qudsi, I am with the belief of my servant in me. Al-Hadith al-Qudsi, the sanctified Hadith, a technical term for what has been communicated to the Holy Prophet by his Rabb. Its meanings are from Allah, which he reveals for his raises, through inspiration or dream, while its words are from the Rasul of Allah. In the last sentence of verse Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 69, surely, in that there is a sign for a people who ponder, Allah Ta'ala has, after having given examples of his perfect power mentioned above, invited human beings once again to look into them and think about them. Allah Ta'ala, by causing rains to come down, gives new life to dead lands. Winding through the impurities of feces and blood, he makes pipelines of pure and pleasant milk flow for you. On date, palms and grapevines, he grows sweet fruits from which you make all sorts of syrups and preserves. Through a tiny little living creature with a poisonous bite, he provides for you what is an excellent combination of food, drink, taste, flavor, and cure. Would you still keep calling gods and goddesses of your making? Would your worship and fidelity still remain detached from your real creator and master and attached to lifeless idols of stone and wood? Would your reason still keep looking for escape from truth by suggesting that this whole phenomena is some charismatic working of blind, deaf, and inert matter? Face truth, think, realize. These countless masterpieces of divine creativity, marvels of wisdom and design, and the finest of decisions based on absolute intelligence are the loudest of heralds announcing that our Creator is one, unique and wise, sole object of worship, obedience, and fidelity. He alone is the remover par excellence of all difficulties, and he alone deserves gratitude and glorification as due. Special notes. The verse tells us that, beside human beings, there is consciousness and intelligence in other living creatures too. There is nothing which does not recite his praises. Surah Al-Isra, Ayah 44. However, the degrees of intelligence are different. The intelligence of human beings is more perfect than those of any other living creatures. This is the reason why they have been obligated with the precepts and injunctions of the Sharia. Again, this is the reason why a man or woman who does not remain rational due to insanity does not remain so obligated, very much like other creatures. Another distinction of the honeybee is that the hadith mentions its superiority. The Holy Prophet said, all bees will go to hell, like other hurting creatures. They will be made a punishment for the people of hell, except the honeybee, which will not go to hell. Nawadir al-Uzul, with reference to al-Qutubay, according to another hadith, he has prohibited its killing. Abu Dawud. Traditional physicians doubt that honey is the excretion or saliva of the bee. Aristotle had placed bees in a hive made of glass and had closed it. He wished to find out their working system. But these bees first mounted a curtain made with wax and mud on the inner side of the glass cage and did not start their work until such time that they became certain of having become totally veiled from sight. Giving an example of the lowness of worldly life, say, Ibn Ali, may Allah be pleased with him, said, the finest dress of the progeny of Adam is saliva from a tiny insect, and the finest of his drinks is the excrement of a bee. From the statement in which there is cure for people, we also find out that treating diseases with medicine is permissible because Allah Ta'ala has mentioned it as a reward and blessing. Elsewhere it has been said, and we send down from the Quran what is cure and mercy for believers. Surah Al-Isra, Ayah 82. Hadith induces people to go for treatment of diseases and use medicines. Some companions asked the Holy Prophet, should we use medicine? He said, why not? Do take advantage of treatment because for every disease Allah has created, He has also created a matching medicine. There is no cure for one disease. They asked, which disease is that? He said, extreme old age. Abu Dawud Tirmidhi from Al-Qutubay. There is yet another narration from Sayyid Ibn Quzma, may Allah be pleased with him. He says, once I asked the Holy Prophet that the practice of blowing on the sick and seeking to cast off diseases which we are used to, or treat ourselves with medicines, are the kind of arrangements we make to stay safe against diseases. Can these change the destiny determined by Allah Ta'ala? He said, these two are nothing but the very forms of divinely appointed destiny. To sum up, there is consensus of all ulama on the justification of seeking treatment and using medicine. Many hadith and reports from the Sahaba are available in support. If one of the children of Sayyidina ibn Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, was stung by a scorpion, he would give him an antidote and seek to help the child to get well through the benediction of supplicatory recitations. He treated a person suffering from partial paralysis by branding. Al-Qutubi, it has been reported about some Muslim mystics, Sufia, that they did not like being medically treated. This is also evident from the reported behavior of some of the Sahaba as well. For instance, according to a report, Sayyidina ibn Mas'ud, may Allah be pleased with him, fell sick. Sayyidina Uthman, may Allah be pleased with him, came to visit him and asked him, "What is it that ails you?" He replied, "I am worried about my sins." Sayyidina Uthman, may Allah be pleased with him, said then, "Do you wish to have something?" He said, "I wish to have the mercy of my Rabb." Sayyidina Uthman, may Allah be pleased with him, said, "If you like, I can call a physician." The answer he gave was, "Believe me, it is the physician himself who has put me down on the sickbed." But occurrences of this nature do not go to prove that these blessed souls took medical treatment to be reprehensible. Makruh may be, at that time, it was not up to their personal taste and inclination. Therefore, it was because of their inability to accept it temperamentally that they did not favor to go by it. This is a transitory phase of psyche, when one comes under the overwhelming logic and effect of the state one is in, and which cannot be used as an argument to prove that medical treatment is either impermissible or reprehensible. The very request made to Sayyidina ibn Mas'ud, may Allah be pleased with him, by Sayyidina Uthman, may Allah be pleased with him, that he be allowed to bring a physician for him, is, in itself, a proof of the fact that treatment is permissible. Rather, there are situations when doing so becomes mandatory as well.
And Allah created you, then He will take you in death, and among you is he who is reversed to the most decrepit old age, so that he will not know, after having had knowledge, a thing. Indeed, Allah is knowing and competent.
Commentary. Mentioned previously were various states of water, vegetation, cattle and honeybee, through which Allah Ta'ala had reminded human beings of His perfect power of creation and of His blessings for the created. Now, through the words of the present verse, they have been invited to ponder over the very state they are in. Human beings were nothing. Allah Ta'ala blessed them with existence. Then, by sending death when He willed, He terminated that blessing. As for some others, they are, much before their death, carried to such a stage of extreme old age that their senses do not work. They lose the strength of their hands and feet. They understand nothing, nor can they remember what they do. This change in their worldview and self-view proves that knowledge and power reside in the exclusive domain of the one who is the Creator and Master. The expression, "and there are some among you who are carried back to the worst part of the age," gives a hint that man has seen a time of weakness earlier too. This was the early stage of childhood, marked by its lack of understanding and physical strength, and dependence on others in eating, drinking, getting up and sitting down. Then came youth, the time to prosper and move ahead. Then, gradually, man is carried to a stage of the same age of helplessness as it was in early childhood. The expression, translated as the worst part of the age, means the extreme old age, when all physical and mental faculties become weak and confused. The Holy Prophet always prayed, "O Allah, I seek refuge with you from the evil of age." And according to another narration, "O Allah, I seek refuge with you from that I be carried to the worst part of the age." The definition of the worst part of the age remains undetermined. However, the definition appearing above seems to be weightier, something to which the Quran too has alluded by saying that he knows nothing after having knowledge, that is, the age in which he is in. Senses do not remain active, as a result of which a person forgets everything he knows. This worst part of the age has been defined variously. Some say it is the age of 80 years, while some others say it is 90. Also reported from Sayyidina Ali, may Allah be pleased with him, there is a statement which puts it at 75. Sahil Hain is quoted by Majari. After that appears the tersely phrased sentence also mentioned above, that he knows nothing after having knowledge. This is about the phenomena of old age, which in our time has given birth to the study of gerontology. When one is made to reach its extreme stage, one is left with no functional strength, neither physical nor rational. What he knows now, he may not know moments later. All information he has, he may forget and become like a child born yesterday who has no knowledge or awareness or understanding or intelligence. Hadrat Ikrimah, may Allah be pleased with him, says, "This state will not prevail upon the reciter of the Quran." In the last sentence of the verse, it was said, "Surely Allah is all-knowing, all-powerful." It means that from knowledge He knows everyone's age. and from power he does what he wills. If he wills, he can have a strong young man be overtaken by the signs of the worst part of old age, and should he so will, even 100-year-old aged man could remain a strong young man. All this lies within the power of that sole being in whose divinity there is no partner or associate.
And Allah has favored some of you over others in provision. But those who were favored would not hand over their provision to those whom their right hands possess, so they would be equal to them therein. Then is it the favor of Allah they reject?
Commentary. In the previous verses, by referring to major manifestations of His knowledge and power and blessings which descend on human beings, Allah Ta'ala has the natural proof of His oneness, Tawhid. By looking at it, even a person of ordinary common sense would not accept that any created being can hold a share with Allah Ta'ala in His attributes of knowledge and power, or in any of the others. In the present verse, this very subject of Tawhid has been brought into focus by citing the example of a case in mutual dealing. It is being said here that Allah Ta'ala has not, in His infinite wisdom, and in view of His consideration for human good, made all human beings equals in terms of rizq or provision. Instead, He has given some of them preference over some others, establishing different degrees therein. Someone was made so rich that he owns a lot of things, keeps a staff of all sorts of servers, spends as he wishes, and his servers, to benefit through him. Then someone was made to work for others who, far from spending on others, was cut out to receive his own expenditure from others. Then someone was made to be somewhere in the middle, neither so rich as to spend on others, nor so poor and needy as to be dependent upon others even in the necessities of life. Everyone is aware of the outcome of this natural distribution, that he who was given preference in provision and made rich and need-free would never accept to distribute his wealth among his slaves and servants in a way that they too become his equals in wealth. Understand the drive of this argument by applying this example on polytheists. They too accept that the idols and other created things they worship are, after all, created and owned by Allah Ta'ala. If so, how can they suggest that the created and the owned become equals to their creator and master? Do such people see all these signs and hear all these words, yet go on to ascribe partners and equals to Allah, the necessary result of which is that they reject the blessings given by Allah? Because if they had admitted that all these blessings have been given by Allah Ta'ala without the intervention of any self, carved idol, ikon, human being and jinn, then how could they have equated these things with Allah Ta'ala? The same subject has been taken up in the following verse of Surah Ar-Rum. We have given for you an example from your own people. Have those who are your subjects become shares with you in the provision given to you by us whereby you are equal in it? Surah Ar-Rum, Ayah 28. The outcome of this too is, when you do not like to let your servants and your slaves whom you own become equal to yourself, how can you like for Allah that He, and things created and owned by Him, become equal to Him? The difference in degrees of economic status is mercy for mankind. This verse makes it clear that the presence of different degrees economic status among human beings, that someone is poor, another rich, and yet another somewhere in the middle, is not accidental. It is as dictated by the wisdom of Allah Ta'ala as required by considerations for human good, and His mercy for mankind. If this state of human society were not to prevail, and if all human beings were to become equal in wealth and possessions, it would have caused a breach of function in world order. Therefore, since the time the world became populated, all human beings have never been equal in terms of wealth and property in any period or age, nor can they be. Should such an equality were to be created compulsorily, it will take only a few days when disruption and disorder become openly visible through the entire spectrum of human dealings. Allah Ta'ala has created human beings with varying degrees of temperaments, as conditioned by intelligence, strength, and functional ability. They have been further classified as low, high, and average, a fact which cannot be rejected by any reasonable person. Similarly, it is also inevitable that there be different degrees in wealth and property as well, so that every single person is rewarded in terms of individual capability. If the capable and the incapable were made equal, it will discourage the capable. When the capable person has to stay at par with the incapable in economic pursuits, what other motivation would compel him to go on striving and achieving excellence? The necessary outcome of such an approach will be no other but the demise of excellence acquired through functional capability. Quranic injunctions against concentration of wealth. Whereas the Creator of the universe gave preference to some over others in physical and rational faculties, and established variance in provision, wealth, and property subject to it, He has also established a strong system of economic equilibrium, which aims that no particular group or party or a few individuals take over the treasures of wealth and centers of economic activity. This system also guards against the consequences of such a takeover, which dries up the very field where capable people could thrive by utilizing their physical, intellectual, and technical capabilities and advance economically. For this purpose, it was said in the Holy Qur'an, it means we made the law of distribution of wealth, so that wealth does not come to be revolving among the rich from among you. Surah Al-Hashr, Ayah 7. The widespread turbulence being experienced in the economic systems of the modern world is directly the result of bypassing this wise law given to us by divine wisdom. On the one hand, there is the capitalist system in which some individuals or groups virtually take over the nerve centers of wealth through the medium of interest and gambling and go on to enslave the entire creation of Allah economically. They are rendered so helpless that they have no escape route left but to serve like slaves and work like dogs in order to get what they can to eke out a living, no matter how miserable. In a situation so sordid, it is a far cry that they would ever be able to step into the field of industry or trade despite having the best of capabilities for this purpose. As a reaction to this tyranny of capitalists, there rises a counter-system in the name of socialism or communism. Their slogan is the removal of disparity between the rich and poor, and the creation of equality between all. Masses of people, already harassed by the injustices of the capitalist system, go after the slogan. But very soon they discover that the slogan was nothing but deception. The dream of economic equality never came true. The poor person, despite poverty and hunger, had a certain human dignity, a certain right to do what he wished. But even that human dignity was snatched away by the system. In the communist system, the worth of a human person is no more than a part of its machines. Private ownership of property is simply out of question there. The factory worker owns nothing, not even the spouse and children. Everyone is a part of the state machine. When the machine starts, they have no choice but to start working on their jobs. Other than the so-called objectives of the state, the worker has no conscience or voice. The slightest grievance against the tyranny of the state and that unbearable labor on the job is counted as rebellion against the state, the punishment for which is death. In short, hostility towards God and religion and adherence to bland materialism is the basic principle of communism. These are facts no communist can deny. The writings and doings of their commissars are proofs of this assertion, for compiling relevant references to these amounts to making a regular book out of them. The Holy Qur'an has provided a system in between the two extremes of tyrannical capitalism and quixotic communism, keeping it free from excess and deficiency so that no individual or group could, despite there being a naturally placed dissimilarity in provision and wealth, go on to make the creation of Allah enlarge their slaves only to condemn them to ever-rising prices of commodities and virtual famines. By declaring interest in gambling to be unlawful, it has demolished the foundations of illegitimate capitalism. Then, by making a categorical statement that the poor and needy have a right in the wealth of every Muslim, they were admitted as sharers, which is not supposed to be some favor done to them. In fact, it is the fulfillment of a duty. The verse, in their wealth, there is a known right for the asking, and the deprived Surah Al-Ma'arij, Ayah 24, proves it. After that, by distributing the entire property of a deceased person over individual inheritors of the family, it has eliminated the concentration of wealth. Natural streams, high seas, and the self-growing produce of mountain forests were declared to be the common capital of the entire creation of Allah. No individual or group can take possession over them as something owned by them. This is not permissible. Contrary to this, in a capitalist system, these blessings are handled as something owned by capitalists only, under one or the other pretext, since diversity and difference in intellectual and practical capabilities is a natural phenomena, and the pursuit of economic gains through them also depends on these very capabilities. Therefore, diversity or dissimilarity in the ownership of wealth and property is also a dictate of wisdom. Whoever has the least sense of how things work in this world would find it hard to deny this truth. Even the champions of the slogan of equality could not go far enough with it. They had to abandon their claim of flat equality and were left with no choice but to introduce dissimilarity and incentive-oriented policy in national economy. On May 5, 1960, speaking before the Supreme Soviet, Nikita Khrushchev said, "We are against the movement to eliminate difference in wages. We are openly against the efforts to establish equality in emoluments and to bring them at par." This is the teaching of Lenin. He taught that material motivations will be given full consideration in a socialist society. Soviet World p. 346 that the dream of economic equality had translated itself into its absence since the very early stages, but it did not take much time to witness that this absence of equality and the disparity between the rich and the poor in the communist state of Russia had gone much beyond the general run of capitalist countries. Leon Sidov writes, perhaps, there is no developed capitalist country where the disparity in the wages of workers is as high as in Soviet Russia. These few examples from the contemporary scene show how deniers were themselves compelled to confirm the truth of the verse, and Allah has given some of you preference over others in provision in that Allah does what He wills. As for comments under this verse, the purpose was limited to pointing out that the dissimilarity in provision and wealth is very natural and very much in accordance with considerations for human good. That which remains is the discussion of the Islamic principles of distribution of wealth, and how they distinctly differ from capitalism and communism both. Insha'Allah, this will appear under comments on, we have distributed among them their livelihood. Surah Az-Zukhruf, Ayah 32, appearing in Maarif-ul-Qur'an, Volume Roman 7. An independent treatise on this subject entitled Islam Khan Nizami Taksimi, all that written by this humble writer should also be sufficient for this purpose. This is also available in its English translation made by Professor Hassan Askari under the title Distribution of Wealth in Islam from the publishers Maktabli Darul Uloom, Korangi, Karachi, Pakistan.
And Allah has made for you from yourselves mates, and has made for you from your mates sons and grandchildren, and has provided for you from the good things. Then in falsehood do they believe, and in the favor of Allah they disbelieve?
Commentary. In verse Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 72, Allah has created spouses from among you. A special blessing has been mentioned in that Allah Ta'ala has created spouses from the same genus so that they remain mutually familiar, and their distinction and nobility inherent in the human species also remains stable through generations. Given here, there may be another hint towards the fact that spouses belong to each other's genus, and as such, their needs and feelings are common to both. Therefore, mutual consideration is but necessary for them. The next sentence of the verse has been translated as, and created for you from your spouse as sons and grandsons. Though children are born to father and mother both, yet in this verse, their birth has been identified with mothers only. The indication given here is suggestive of the fact that the role of the mother in the birth and the creational formation of the child is more pronounced than that of the father. The father contributes only a lifeless drop. The locale where this drop goes through different kinds of stages from the transformation into human form and shape to becoming alive, and where all these inimitable achievements of nature take place, is a place no other than the womb of the mother. Therefore in the hadith, the right of the mother has been made to precede the right of the father. There is yet another hint visible in this sentence, which mentions grandsons along with sons. That is, the real purpose behind creating spouses is the procreation and survival of human race so that they have children, then their children have their children. What else would this be if not the survival of human species? After that, by saying, and gave you provision from good things, mention was made of things which guarantee personal survival. In other words, once a human child is born, food is needed for its personal survival. That too was provided by Allah Ta'ala. The real meaning of the word, hafada, in this verse is that of one who helps and serves. That this word has been used for children suggests that children should always be at the service of their father and mother. Qatu, why?
And they worship besides Allah that which does not possess for them the power of provision from the heavens and the earth at all, and in fact they are unable.
See Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 72 for the Tafsir.
So do not assert similarities to Allah. Indeed, Allah knows and you do not know.
The statement, so, do not coin similarities, for Allah clarifies an important aspect of the reality of things as they relate to Allah. If ignored, it becomes the breeding ground of all sorts of rejectionist doubts and scruples. The problem is that people would generally take Allah Ta'ala the analogy of their own humankind and go on to declare the highest placed among them, a king and ruler, as similar to Allah Ta'ala. Then, relying on this wrong assumption, they start seeing the divine system on the analogy of the system of human monarchs. This leads them to take a cue from the fact that since no king can, all by himself, run the administration of the whole kingdom, the system is run by delegating powers to subordinate ministers and officials who do that on his behalf. Similarly, they believe and propose that there have to be some other objects of worship under the authority of Allah Ta'ala who would help him out in carrying out his tasks. This is the general theory, of all idol worshippers and polytheists. This sentence of the Qur'an has cut off the very root of these doubts by stating that suggesting examples of what has been created and applying them on Allah Ta'ala, the Creator, is something unreasonable by itself. He is far above similarities and analogies and conjectures and guesses.
Allah presents an example: a slave who is owned and unable to do a thing, and he to whom we have provided from us good provision, so he spends from it secretly and publicly. Can they be equal? Praise to Allah, but most of them do not know.
In the first of the two examples given in the last two verses, the description is that of a master and a slave, that is, the owner and the owned. By giving this example, it is being said, when these two, despite being from the same genus and the same kind, cannot be equal to each other, how then could you equate someone or something created by Allah with him?
And Allah presents an example of two men, one of them dumb and unable to do a thing, while he is a burden to his guardian. Wherever he directs him, he brings no good. Is he equal to one who commands justice while he is on a straight path?
In the second example, there is a man who bids justice and teaches what is good. This is a model of his intellectual perfection. Then he himself takes the path of moderation and right guidance. This is the model of his practical perfection. Set against the power of this intellectually and practically perfect man, there is the other man who cannot do anything for himself, nor can he do anything right for others. These two men of two different kinds, despite being from one genus, one species and one brotherhood, cannot be equal to each other. So, how can some created being or thing become equal to the Creator and Master of the universe, who is absolute in wisdom, absolute in power, and all-knowing and all-aware?
And to Allah belongs the unseen aspects of the heavens and the earth, and the command for the hour is not but as a glance of the eye or even nearer. Indeed, Allah is over all things competent.
See Surah An-Nahl, Ayat 76, for the Tafsir.
And Allah has extracted you from the wombs of your mothers not knowing a thing, and He made for you hearing and vision and intellect, that perhaps you would be grateful.
Commentary. The divine statement, when you knew nothing, indicates that knowledge is not an ingrained personal excellence of man. When born, man has no knowledge or skill. Then, in proportion to growing human needs, man is made to absorb some knowledge, bit by bit, directly from Allah Ta'ala, in which no role is played by the parents or teachers. First of all, man was taught to cry. This one qualification alone provides all he needs at that time. Hungry or thirsty, he cries. Feels hot or cold, he cries. If some other discomfort bothers him, he would still cry. Nature has poured a special kind of love in the hearts of the father and the mother for the needs of the infant, because of which, when they hear the sounds made by the child, they become all too eager to find out what is bothering the baby, and all too willing to remove the problem. If the child was not inducted into this act of crying as part of his or her early education from a side no less than that of Allah Himself, who else could have trained the child to employ this skill and start crying like that as, and when there be some need? Along with it, Allah Ta'ala also taught the child inspiration, wise, that he or she should use gums and lips to suck milk, the child's energy food, from the breast of the mother. If this education and training was not natural and direct, no teacher anywhere could dare make this newborn learn to pout and move the mouth right and suck nipples on the breast. Thus, with the increase in the needs of the child, nature took care of teaching its charge directly without the intermediary link of the father and mother, in a manner almost spontaneous and self-regulating. After the passage of some time, the child starts learning a little by hearing parents and others around say what they do, or pick up a few tips by seeing a few things around. This then creates in the child the ability to understand sounds heard and things seen. Therefore after, when you knew nothing, in the verse under common, it was said, and He made for you ears, eyes, and hearts. It means, though human beings knew nothing about anything at the early stage of their birth, but nature had installed in their very frame of existence novel instruments to fulfill their need to learn. Out of these instruments, the first to be mentioned was Sam'i, that is, the faculty of hearing, which proceeds perhaps for the reason that the very first knowledge, and the most of it, comes through nothing but ears. In the beginning eyes are closed, but ears hear. Furthermore, if we were to think about it, we shall not fail to realize that the amount of information one acquires in a whole lifetime is mostly what has been heard with ears. Information collected visually is much less than that. After these two comes information which one deduces by deliberating into things heard and seen. According to the statements of the Quran, this is a function of the human heart. Therefore, stated at number 3 is afida, which is the plural of fu'ad, which means the heart. Scientists identify the human brain as the center of understanding and reason. But the statement of the Quran tells us that though the brain plays a role in this process of reasoning, yet the real center of knowledge and reason is the heart. On this occasion, Allah Ta'ala has mentioned the faculties of hearing, seeing, and understanding. Speech was not mentioned because speech plays no role in the acquisition of knowledge. It is rather a source of the expression of knowledge. In addition to that, according to Imam al-Qutubi, the word sama, hearing, is inclusive of not speech as a corollary, as experience bears out that a person who hears speaks as well. A person deprived of the power of speech remains deaf in the ears as well. Perhaps the reason why a dumb person cannot speak lies in the person's very inability to hear any sounds which could make learning to speak through hearing possible. Wallahu alam, and Allah knows best, is a standard appendage to conclusions where definite knowledge about a subject in flux is not available or accessible or reliable. For a believer, this serves as a safety device against the possibility of having made any false statements, which may be a sin.
Do they not see the birds controlled in the atmosphere of the sky? None holds them up except Allah. Indeed, in that are signs for a people who believe.
See Surah An-Nahl, Ayat 78 for the Tafsir.
And Allah has made for you from your homes a place of rest, and made for you from the hides of the animals tents, which you find light on your day of travel and your day of encampment. And from their wool, fur, and hair is furnishing and enjoyment for a time.
In the statement, and Allah has made for you of your houses a place of comfort, the word bayat is the plural of bayt, which means a house where night could be spent. Imam al-Qutubi says in his Tafsir, whatever is above your head and provides shade for you is roof or sky, and whatever holds you atop is earth, and whatever screens you out from all four sides are walls, and when all these components are put together properly, that is a house. The real purpose of making a house is to have peace for body and heart. Here, by calling the human house a place of comfort and peace, Allah Ta'ala has made the logic and wisdom of making houses fully evident. That is, its real purpose is to have comfort of the body and peace of the heart. Customarily, the avenues of human work lie outside houses. Human work owes its existence to human movement and struggle. The real purpose of one's house is to go there when tired after moving around and doing things, and rest and enjoy peace, even though there are times when one keeps moving around and doing things in one's own house. But such instances are usually on the lower side. This helps us realize that peace is really the peace of mind and heart, something one finds in one's home only. This also tells us that the highest qualification of human home is that it provides peace. The world of today is at the height of its building craze. Limitless expenditure is incurred on their superficial finishing, but there are very few homes among them which would provide peace of mind and heart. In fact, the artificially imposed additions in them become the very agents which destroy comfort and peace. And even in the absence of such material extravagance, the kind of people one confronts in the house is a misfortune which sucks that peace away. When such elegant houses are compared with the modest hut, the dweller of the hut, who is blessed with comfort and peace for his body and heart, is certainly living in a better place. The Quran manifests that Elon vital, the essence, and the root of everything. Hence, peace was declared to be the real purpose of human home, and the greatest need indeed. Similarly, the real purpose of marital life was also determined to be peace, as in, so that you may enjoy peace with her. Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 21. A married life which fails to achieve this purpose remains deprived of the real benefit destined for it. Life in our day is infested with so many customs and formalities, reaching the limits of absurdity in showing what you have through all sorts of artificial veneers. To compound the problem further, the outpourings of Western cultural and social norms and products have provided everything one needs to embellish personal surroundings with artificial decor, but it has certainly made human beings become all deprived of what would be real comfort for their bodies and peace for their hearts. The statement, from the hides of the cattle, and the statement, out of their wool and their fur and their hair, prove that it is halal to use everything out of the hide, wool, and hair of animals. Here, even the restriction that the animal be properly slaughtered or be a dead animal does not exist, nor is there any restriction as to their meat being halal or haram. It is perfectly halal to use the hides of the animals of this kind by tanning them, and as for hair and wool, the death of the animal leaves just no effect on them. That remains halal and permissible without any specific technical treatment. This is the madhab creed of the great Imam Abu Hanifa. However, the hide of swine and all parts thereof are unclean and unfit for use under all conditions.
And Allah has made for you, from that which He has created, shadows, and has made for you from the mountains shelters, and has made for you garments which protect you from the heat, and garments which protect you from your enemy in battle. Thus does He complete His favor upon you, that you might submit to Him.
Finally, a note about the statement shirts which protect you from heat. Here, protection from heat has been identified as the purpose of a shirt, though a shirt protects one from heat and cold both. This has been answered by Imam al-Qurtubi and other commentators by saying that the Holy Quran has been revealed in the Arabic language. Its first addressees are Arabs, therefore it speaks by taking Arab habits and needs into account. Arabia is a hot country where the very thought of snow and winter chill is far-fetched, therefore the statement was left with the mention of protection from heat as being sufficient. Yet another explanation for this has been given by Maulana Ashraf Ali Khan of the Inban al-Quran by saying that in the beginning of this surah the Quran had already said, "And for you there is provision against cold," and then Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 5. Thus, it was in view of this earlier mention of eating cold and having warm that only protection from heat has been mentioned here.
But if they turn away, O Muhammad, then only upon you is responsibility for clear notification.
See Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 81 for the Tafsir.
They recognize the favor of Allah, then they deny it, and most of them are disbelievers.
See Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 81 for the Tafsir.
And mention the day when we will resurrect from every nation a witness. Then it will not be permitted to the disbelievers to apologize or make excuses, nor will they be asked to appease Allah.
See Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 81 for the Tafsir.
And when those who wronged see the punishment, it will not be lightened for them, nor will they be reprieved.
See Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 81 for the Tafsir.
And when those who associated others with Allah see their partners, they will say, "Our Lord, these are our partners to you, whom we used to invoke besides you." But they will throw at them the statement, "Indeed, you are liars."
See Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 81 for the Tafsir.
And they will impart to Allah that day their submission, and lost from them is what they used to invent.
See Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 81 for the Tafsir.
Those who disbelieved and averted others from the way of Allah, we will increase them in punishment over their punishment for what corruption they were causing.
See Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 81 for the Tafsir.
And mention the day when we will resurrect among every nation a witness over them from themselves. And we will bring you, O Muhammad, as a witness over your nation. And we have sent down to you the book as clarification for all things, and as guidance and mercy and good tidings for the Muslims.
Commentary. In verse Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 89, by saying, the Quran has been credited as the exposition of everything. It means everything about the religion because the objective of divine revelation and prophetic mission concerns with these very things. Therefore, the very effort to call out answers to problems pertaining to economic sciences from the Quran and is an exercise in error. However, the appearance of some implied hints somewhere shall not be deemed contrary to this. Now remains the question that the Quran does not carry answers to all problems of the religion itself. How then would it be correct to say that it is an exposition of everything? The answer is that the Quran does carry the basic principles concerning all problems, and it is in their light that the ahadith of the Rasul of Allah clarify these problems. Then, there are some details which are delegated to the principles of Amma, consensus, and al-Qiyas, and a logical deduction following the norms set by the Sharia of Islam. This tells us that the religious rulings deduced from the ahadith of the Holy Prophet and from Amma and Qiyas are also, in a way, as stated by the Quran itself.
Indeed, Allah orders justice and good conduct and giving to relatives and forbids immorality and bad conduct and oppression. He admonishes you that perhaps you will be reminded.
Commentary. This is the most comprehensive verse of the Holy Qur'an, where the essence of the entire range of Islamic teachings has been condensed into a few words. Therefore, from the blessed period of the most righteous elders up to this day, the practice has continued that this verse is recited at the end of the special khutbah address of Jummah and the two Eids, Eid al-Fitr and Bid al-Adha. Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, may Allah be pleased with him, says that the most comprehensive verse of the Holy Qur'an appears in Surah An-Nahl, and it is Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 90 cited above, Ibn Kathir. Then there is a case of another Sahabi, say, Ibn Aktham ibn al-Sayfi. He actually embraced Islam on the basis of this very verse. Imam Ibn Kathir, quoting Maarif-ul-Qur'an, Sahaba, a book by Abu Ya'la, who was known as a Hafiz of Hadith, virtually a living databank of Hadith in contemporary terms, has reported with sound authority that Aktham ibn al-Sayfi was the chief of his people. When he learned about the Holy Prophet, his claim to prophethood, and his propagation of Islam, he decided to visit the Holy Prophet personally. But his people suggested to him that he was their chief, the highest-ranking person among them, therefore his going there personally was not appropriate. Then Aktham proposed the alternative that they should select 2 persons from the tribe who should go there, survey the situation, and report back to him. These 2 people presented themselves before the Holy Prophet and submitted that they had come from Aktham ibn al-Sayfi to find out 2 things. Aktham has 2 questions for you. Who are you and what are you? He said. The answer to the first question is that I am Muhammad ibn Abdallah, and the answer to the second question is that I am a servant of Allah and his Rasul, messenger. After that, he recited this verse of Surah An-Nahl, which begins with, the 2 emissaries requested him to recite those sentences to them once again. He kept reciting the verse before them until the verse was committed to their memory. The emissaries returned to Aktham and reported that by asking the first question their intention was to find out his lineage. But he did not give much attention to this. He simply considered it sufficient to give the name of his father. Yet, when they checked on his lineage with others, they found out that he was very high in lineage and nobility. Then they told Aktham that the Holy Prophet also recited some words before them which they would narrate to him. When the emissaries recited the verse under reference to Aktham ibn al-Sayfi, he promptly said, "This tells us that he bids morals which are high and forbids morals which are low. Let all of you embrace his religion as soon as possible so that you stay ahead of other people and not lag behind as camp followers." Ibn Kathir. Similarly, say, Inna Uthman ibn Maz'un, may Allah be pleased with him, says at the initial stage, I had embraced Islam because people around said so, but Islam had not taken roots in my heart. Then there came a day when I was present in the blessed company of the Holy Prophet. All of a sudden, signs associated with the descent of revelation on him became apparent, and after some strange things had transpired, he said, the emissary of Allah Ta'ala came to me, and this verse was revealed upon me. Sayyidina Uthman ibn Maz'un, may Allah be pleased with him, says that once he saw this event and heard this verse, his faith became all firm and fortified in his heart, and the love for Rasulullah came to be settled there for good. After reporting this event, Ibn Kathir has said that it is supported by a strong and authentic chain of transmitting authorities. Likewise, when the Holy Prophet recited this verse before Walid ibn Mughira, he went to report his impression before his people, the Quraysh of Makkah, in the following words, by God, in it there is a special sweetness, and above it there is a unique halo of light, and leaves are going to sprout out from its roots, and fruits are going to show up on its branches, and this can never be the speech of any human being. The command to do 3 things and not to do 3. Allah Ta'ala bids 3 things in this verse. These are to do justice, to be good, to give relatives their due. Then he forbids 3 things. These are shameful acts, evil deeds, transgression. The Islamic legal sense of these 6 words and their limits are being explained as follows. Al-Adl, the real and literal meaning of this word is to make equal. Pertinent to this, the equitable judgment of officials in the disputed cases of people is called Al-Adl or justice. The statement, and that when you judge between people, judge with fairness, Surah An-Nisa, Ayah 58, in the Holy Qur'an carries this very sense, and in view of this, the word Al-Adl, justice, also refers to moderation, al-i'tidal, between the 2 extremes of excess, al-ifrat, and deficiency, at-tafrit. Then, very much in congruity with this sense, some tafsir authorities have explained al-adl at this place as the equality of the outward and the inward state of a person, that is, what one says or does through the obvious organs of his body should also be compatible with what he believes in and lives by. However, the truth of the matter is that the word al-adl here has been used in its general sense, which is inclusive of all these forms and shades reported from different tafsir authorities. There is no contradiction or divergence in them. And according to Ibn al-Arabi, the intrinsic meaning of al-adl is to make equal, then different congruities go to make its sense different. For instance, one sense of al-adl or justice is that man should do justice between his nafs, self, and his Rabb, Lord, God. If so, it would mean that he should give preference to the right of Allah Ta'ala over the pleasure of his self and make the seeking of his pleasure far more urgent and prior than the pursuit of his own desires, and obey his commands, and totally abstain from what he has forbidden. Then there's the second kind of justice, which requires that one enter into a deal of justice with his own self, that is, protect his self from all such challenges which bring physical or spiritual destruction upon him, refuse to fulfill such desires of his self which are harmful for him in the end, be content and satisfied observing patience, and avoid putting unnecessary burden on his self without valid excuse. The third kind of justice prevails between one's own self and the rest of Allah's creation. In this case, the essential sense is that one should deal with the whole creation in a cooperative spirit, wishing well, doing good, and having sympathy. Never betray anyone with the slightest breach of trust in any transaction, whether minor or major. Demand from his self justice for everyone, and see to it that no human being is hurt by anything said or done by him, whether apparent or concealed. Similarly, there is the justice done when two parties bring one of their cases for adjudication before a person. Then it is the duty of that person that he must decide the case without any tilt toward anyone, and in accordance with what is the truth. Then it is also a form of justice when one leaves out the extreme options of excess and deficiency in all matters and takes to the path of moderation. This is the sense Abu Abdullah al-Razi prefers when he says that the word al-adl, justice, is inclusive of moderation in belief, moderation in deed, moderation in morals, everything. Al-Bar al-Mubit. Finally, Imam al-Qurtubi, who gives all these details to determine the sense of al-adl, also considers it good for the purpose. This also tells us that the one single word, al-adl, in this verse encompasses in itself the adherence to all good morals and deeds and the avoidance of all bad morals and deeds. Al-ihsan, the real and literal meaning of al-ihsan, is to make something good. It has two kinds, that one makes deeds or morals and habits become good and perfect in one's own person, that one deals with the other person nicely, decently, and favorably. To cover this second sense, Arabic usage takes illa as the preposition after it, as it appears in a verse of the Quran, "Be good as Allah has been good to you," Surah Al-Qasas, Ayah 77. Imam al-Qurtubi has said that this word has been used in its general sense in the cited verse, therefore it is inclusive of both kinds of ihsan. Then, the first kind of ihsan, that is, doing something well in its own right, is also general. For instance, to come out with acts of worship in their best possible form, to make efforts to improve upon personal deeds and morals, and to seek betterment in dealings with others. The meaning of ihsan given by the Holy Prophet himself in the famous hadith of Jibril relates to the quality of ihsan in acts of ibadah or worship. The gist of his blessed statement is, worship Allah as if you are seeing Allah. And if you cannot imagine divine presence at this level, then each person must have at least this much certitude that Allah Almighty is, after all, seeing what he or she is doing. The reason is that it is a cardinal part of Islamic faith that not the minutest molecule of this universe can remain outside the reach of the knowledge and perception of Allah Ta'ala. To sum up, it can be said that the second command given in this verse is that of ihsan. Included here is the ihsan of ibadah, the betterment of acts of worship, as explained by the hadith. Also included here is the ihsan or betterment of all deeds, morals, and habits, that is, seeing that they come out right, good and authentic in the form and spirit desired. And also included here is to be good to the whole creation of Allah, whether believer or infidel, human or animal. Imam al-Qurtubi has said, the person in whose house his cat is not fed and taken care of, and the birds in whose cage are not attended to as due, then, no matter how devoted to acts of worship he may be, he would still not be counted among the muslimin, those who are good to others. In conclusion, the first command given in this verse is that of al-adl or justice, then that of al-ihsan or being good. Some tafsir authorities have said that justice means that one should give the right of the other person in full and take what comes to him, neither less nor more than. Should someone hurt you, you hurt him only as much as he did, no more. And ihsan, or being good, means that you give the other person more than his real due, and, as for your own right, Ignore it to the limit that you willingly accept, even if it turns out to be less than due. Similarly, when someone hurts you physically or verbally, then, rather than inflict an equal retaliation against that person, you better forgive him. In fact, return the evil done by him with what is good for him. Thus, the command to do justice comes in the form of what is fard and wajib, obligatory and necessary as duty, while the command to be good appears in the status of an act which is voluntary, nafil, and is motivated by a well-meaning desire to contribute more in the way of what is good. Give relatives their due. The third command given in this verse is to give relatives their due. The word itat used in the text means to give something with the added sense of giving as gift or presentation in good grace. The word al-qaba means relationship or kinship, and hilqaba means relatives or kin. Thus, the command idati hilqaba comes to mean to give something to relatives. That which has to be given has not been spelled out here, but there is another verse in the Qur'an where the object does find mention. Give the relative his due. Surah Al-Isra, Ayah 26. As obvious, the same object applies here too, that is, relatives be given their due. Included under this due is serving them financially, as well as serving them physically, and visiting them when sick, and taking care of them when in need, and the giving of verbal comfort and the expression of concern and sympathy too. Though giving relatives their due was included under the spectrum of the word al-ihsan, yet it has been mentioned separately in order to place stress on its added importance. Given up to this point were 3 commands asserted positively, the other 3 asserted negatively, denoting prohibition and unlawfulness, are as follows, and forbids from shameless acts, evil deeds and transgression. The first word, al-fasha, translated as shameful acts, refers to such evil word or deed the evil of which is all too open and clear, and which everyone considers bad. Then, al-munkar, translated as evil deeds, denotes the word or deed the unlawfulness or impermissibility of which is agreed upon by the well-recognized authentic exponents of the Sharia of Islam. Therefore, no side can be regarded as munkar in their idea and base differences, and as for the word al-munkar, it includes all sins, whether outward or inward, done practically or committed morally. The real meaning of the third word, al-baghi, translated as transgression, is to cross the limit. The sense is that of injustice and excess. At this place, though the sense of the word, al-munkar, evil deeds, is inclusive of both al-fasha, shameful acts, and al-baghi, transgression, the al-fasha has been picked out as a separate entry and made to appear first as well because of its extreme evil and abomination. And the word al-baghi has been taken out separately because its fallout is contagious. It affects others. Sometimes this transgression reaches the outer limits of mutual hostility, even armed confrontation, or it could go still further and cause international disorder. According to a saying of the Holy Prophet, there is no sin, except injustice, the retaliation against which and the punishment for which comes so quickly. From this we learn that the ultimate severe punishment for injustice due in the hereafter has to come anyway. However, much before that happens, Allah Ta'ala punishes the perpetrator of injustice in this mortal world as well, even though he may fail to realize that the punishment he received was for a particular injustice committed by him, and that Allah Ta'ala promised to help the victim of injustice. The 6 commands, imperative and prohibitive, given in this verse are, if pondered upon, an elixir for the perfect prosperity of man's individual and collective life. May Allah bless us all with the ability of following them.
And fulfill the covenant of Allah when you have taken it, O believers, and do not break oaths after their confirmation while you have made Allah over you a witness. Indeed, Allah knows what you do.
Commentary. Breaking pledges is forbidden. The word ad is inclusive of all transactions, pacts and pledges, the responsibility of which has been assumed verbally, whether one does or does not swear by it, and whether it relates to doing something or not doing it. In fact, these verses are the explanation and conclusion of previous verses. The previous verses carried the command to do justice and to be good. The sense of justice there includes the fulfillment of pledges as well. Qutubai. After having given a pledge or made a contract with someone, breaking it is a major sin. But in the event it is broken, there is no kafara expiation fixed for this purpose. Instead, it brings the punishment of the hereafter on the offender. According to Hadith, the Holy Prophet said that a flag shall be planted on the back of the pledge breaker on the day of resurrection, which will become the cause of his or her disgrace there. Similarly, acting contrary to what one has sworn by is also a major sin. In the hereafter, it is full of unimaginably evil consequences, while in the present world too there are its particular situations in which kafara, expiation, becomes necessary. Quote 2 by.
And do not be like she who untwisted her spun thread after it was strong, by taking your oaths as means of deceit between you, because one community is more plentiful in number or wealth than another community. Allah only tries you thereby, and He will surely make clear to you on the day of resurrection that over which you used to differ.
In verse Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 92, merely because a group is higher in number and wealth than the other, Muslims have been ordered that they should not break the pact they enter into with a group simply for the sake of worldly interests and gains. For example, they may come to think that the group or party with which they have entered into a pact is weak and few in numbers, or lacks financial backing, while the other group or party abounds in numbers and strength, or is wealthy. Now, if they are tempted to join the party having power and wealth in the hope of better gains from them, this breaking of the pledge given to the first party is not permissible. Rather than do something like that, one should stay by the pledge given and let all gains and losses rest with Allah Ta'ala. However, if the group or party with which one has entered into a pact commits or commissions acts contrary to the dictates of Islamic religious law, then it is necessary to break that pledge, subject to the condition that they be clearly forewarned that Muslims will not be bound by that pact, and are more stated in the verse than for the treaty towards them being right forward. Surah Al-Anfal, Ayah 58. At the conclusion of the verse, the given situation has been identified as a device to test Muslims, whereby Allah Ta'ala tries them to determine if they would obey the desires of their self and break the solemn pledge, or go on to sacrifice their selfish motives in obedience to the command of Allah Ta'ala.
And if Allah had willed, He could have made you of one religion, but He causes to stray whom He wills and guides whom He wills, and you will surely be questioned about what you used to do.
See Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 92 for the Tafsir.
And do not take your oaths as means of deceit between you, lest a foot slip after it was once firm, and you would taste evil in this world for what people you diverted from the way of Allah, and you would have in the hereafter a great punishment.
An oath sworn to deceive someone may cause forfeiture of faith. Iman, verse Surah An-Nahl, Ayat 94, which begins with the words, "Do not take your oaths as a means of mischief," gives yet another instruction to stay away from getting involved in what is a great sin laden with evil consequences. It means that anyone who at the very time of taking an oath harbors other ideas and intentions is all set to act counter to the oath taken while going through the exercise of oath-taking merely to deceive the other party. Then, this would be an act far more dangerous than that of breaking a common oath. As a result, the danger is that this person may end up being all deprived of the very asset of iman, faith. The sentence which follows immediately, that is, lest a foot should slip after it is firmly placed, means exactly this. Quote by.
And do not exchange the covenant of Allah for a small price. Indeed, what is with Allah is best for you, if only you could know.
Accepting bribe is sternly forbidden as it breaks the covenant of Allah. First Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 95, which begins with the words, "And do not take a paltry price against the pledge of Allah," that is, do not break the covenant of Allah for a paltry price. Here, a paltry price refers to worldly life and its gains. No matter how major they may be yet, as compared with the gains of the hereafter, even the entire world and its entire wealth is nothing but paltry. Whoever opts for the gains of the mortal world at the cost of the far superior returns in the hereafter has struck a deal which will bring nothing but utter loss, because, selling off the blessing which is supreme and a wealth which is everlasting in exchange for something fast perishing and intrinsically low, is what no sensible person would ever elect to do. Ibn Atiyah said, "If doing something is obligatory on a person, then it is a covenant of Allah due against him. He is responsible for it. And in the process of fulfilling this duty, the act of charging wages or something in return, and not doing what duty calls for without being first paid off in cash or kind, is what amounts to breaking the covenant of Allah. Similarly, if not doing something is obligatory on a person, then should the person do it against returns received from someone, that too will constitute the breaking of the covenant of Allah." This tells us that all prevailing kinds of bribery are unlawful. For example, a government servant who receives a salary for what he does has virtually given a pledge to Allah that he would perform the job assigned to him against the salary he receives. Now, if he goes about asking for some sort of return from someone in order to do that job, and keeps hedging and postponing the required action until he has that return, then this official is breaking the covenant of Allah. Similarly, doing something for which the department has not empowered him, even doing it by accepting bribe, is also a breach of pledge. Al-Bar al-Mu'it, comprehensive definition of bribe. The statement of Ibn Atiyah quoted above also accommodates a fairly inclusive definition of bribe, rishwat, which, in the words of Tafsir Al-Bar al-Mu'it, is as follows: taking a return for not doing a job, the doing of which is obligatory on a person, or taking a return for doing a job not doing which is obligatory on a person, is what bribe is. Al-Bar al-Mu'it p. 533b. 5. That the combined blessings of the whole world are paltry has been stated in the next verse, Surah An-Nahl, ayah 96, through the words, that is, what is with you, meaning worldly gains, is to end, and what is with Allah Ta'ala, meaning the reward and punishment of the hereafter, is to last forever.
Whatever you have will end, but what Allah has is lasting. And we will surely give those who were patient their reward according to the best of what they used to do.
All worldly gains and states will perish, only their outcome with Allah shall remain. A casual look at the expression, ma indakum, what is with you, meaning world gains, leads one to think of wealth and possessions only. My revered teacher, Maulana Sayyid Asghar Hussain of Dialban, may the mercy of Allah be upon him, said that the word ma, what, is general lexically, and there is nothing prohibiting us from taking it in a general sense, therefore included under it our wealth and possessions of the present world, as well as all states and matters that one experiences therein. These could be happiness and sorrow, pain and comfort, sickness and health, gain and loss, or someone's friendship or enmity. These form part of it, for all these are transitory and must perish. However, the after effects of all these states and matters which are to bring reward or punishment on the day of judgment are destined to remain. So, any reckless pursuit of states and matters that must perish, and to stake one's life and its energies on this altar by becoming negligent of the eternal reward and punishment, is something no sane person should elect to do.
Whoever does righteousness, whether male or female, while he is a believer, we will surely cause him to live a good life, and we will surely give them their reward in the hereafter, according to the best of what they used to do.
Commentary. What is good life? According to the majority of commentators, the expression good life used here means a pure and pleasing life in the present world, while some tafsir authorities have taken it to mean life in the hereafter. And a closer look at the explanation given by the majority would also show that it does not mean that such a person will never encounter poverty or sickness. Instead, it means that a believer, even if he ever faces poverty or pain, has two things with him which shield him from becoming disturbed. First comes his habit of remaining content with the available, qana'ah, the hallmark of a simple life. This thing works in straitened circumstances as well. Secondly, there is this belief of his, the belief that he is going to receive the great and eternal blessings of the hereafter in return for whatever poverty or pain he has suffered from. Poised counter to this is the condition of a disbeliever and sinner. If such a person faces poverty and pain, he has nothing to hold him together and give him solace and comfort. In this state, he is likely to lose his sanity, even think of committing suicide. And in case he was affluent, his greed would not let him sit peacefully. When the drive for more wealth makes him a millionaire, the dreams of becoming a billionaire would keep spoiling his peace. As for righteous believers, says Ibn Atiyah, Allah Ta'ala blesses them with a life full of pleasure, contentment, and gracefulness right here in this world as well, something that never changes whatever the condition. That their life will be graceful while they enjoy health and extended means is all too obvious, particularly so on the ground that they just do not have the greed to keep their wealth increasing unnecessarily, an urge that keeps harassing one under all circumstances. And even if they have to face lean days or sickness of some sort, they always have a strong support to fall back on. They are perfect believers in the promises made by Allah. They have strong hopes of seeing ease after hardship and comfort after pain. These strengths never let their life become graceless. It is like the work of a farmer who has made his farm ready for crops. No matter how much pain he takes in working to see his crops grow, yet he welcomes all that for the sake of the comfort he is going to have. In a short time, he is certain he is going to have the best of return for what he has done. A businessman or a wage earner would do the same. They would face all sorts of hardship in their job, even a little disgrace once in a while. But they brave through everything and remain happy and hopeful. They believe that their business will bring profit and their job a salary. The believer too believes that he is getting a return for every hardship, and when comes the life of the hereafter, his return for every hardship will come to him in the form of blessings that are great and everlasting. As for the life of the present world, it is not such a big deal as compared to that of the hereafter. Therefore, a believer finds it easy to remain patient against worldly variations in living conditions. Thus, these conditions never make a believer suffer from anxiety, apprehension, and boredom. This is the good life a believer is blessed with in cash on the spot, right here in this world.
So when you recite the Quran, first seek refuge in Allah from Satan, the expelled from His mercy.
Sequence of verses. Emphasis was laid in previous verses over the fulfillment of the covenant with Allah following, which stated there was the importance and desirability of acting righteously in one's life. That one neglects to follow these commandments happens because of shaitanic instigations. Therefore, this verse teaches us to seek protection against Satan, the accursed something needed in every good deed. But it will be noticed that it has been mentioned particularly with the recitation of the Quran. One reason for this particularization could also be that the recitation of the Quran is an act so unique that the Satan himself runs away from it. As said poetically, Satan bolts from people who recite the Quran. Then, there are specified verses and chapters which have been tested, and they produce the desired result in removing the traces of satanic inputs particularly. That they are effective and beneficial stands proof from definite textual authorities, Nusus and Al-Quran. Despite this factor, when came the command to seek protection from the Satan in conjunction with the recitation of the Quran, it becomes all the more necessary with other deeds. In addition to that, there is always the danger of shaitanic instigations intruding into the recitation of the Quran in itself. For instance, one may fall short in observing the etiquette due during the recitation, or that it remains devoid of the essential spirit of deliberation, thinking, submission, and humbleness. So, for this too, it was deemed necessary that protection from satanic instigations should be sought. Ibn Kathir, Majari, and others commentary. In the preface of his Tafsir, Ibn Kathir has said, "Human beings have two kinds of enemies. The first ones come from their own kind, like the general run of disbelievers. The other kind is that of the jinn, who are diabolic and disobedient. Islam commands defense against the first kind of enemy through jihad involving fighting and killing. But for the other kind, the command is limited to the seeking of protection from Allah only. The reason is that the first kind of enemy happens to be homogeneous. Its attack comes openly, visibly. Therefore, fighting and killing in jihad against such an enemy was made obligatory. As for the enemy of the satanic kind, it is not visible. Its attack on humankind does not take place frontally. Therefore, as a measure of defense against such an enemy, the seeking of the protection of such a being has been made obligatory that no one is able to see, neither the humankind nor the Satan. Then there is that subtle expediency in entrusting the defense against Satan with Allah. Is it not that one who stands subdued by the Satan is actually rejected and deserving of punishment in the sight of Allah? Quite contrary to this is the case of the humanoid enemy of human beings, that is, the disbelievers. If someone is subdued or killed while confronting them, he becomes a martyr, shahid, and deserving of reward from Allah, thawab. Therefore, when one confronts an enemy of human beings with all his strength, it turns out to be nothing but beneficial, no matter what the circumstances. Either he would prevail over the enemy and put an end to his power, or would himself embrace shahada, martyrdom in the way of Allah, and deserve the best of returns with him. Related rulings. Masalo, the reciting of A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, I seek protection with Allah from Shaitan, the accursed, before initiating the recitation of the Quran stands proof from the Holy Prophet in order that the command given in this verse is carried out. But not doing it occasionally also stands proof from authentic Sahih hadith. Therefore, the majority of Muslim scholars have not classed this injunction as obligatory, wajib. Instead, they have declared it to be sunnah, a position on which Ibn Jarir al-Tabari has reported a consensus aim of the scholars of the Muslim community. As for hadith narratives carrying the word and deed of the Holy Prophet, whether those of reciting the A'udhu billah under most conditions or those of not reciting under some, all these have been mentioned exhaustively by Ibn Kathir at the beginning of his Tafsir. Should tawad, that is, the A'udhu billah, be recited only at the beginning of the first rak'ah while in salah, or should it be done at the beginning of every rak'ah? Views of leading Muslim jurists differ in this matter. According to the great Imam Abu Hanifa Jai, it should be recited only in the first rak'ah, while Imam Shafi'i, may Allah have mercy on him, declares its recitation at the beginning of every rak'ah as commendable, mustahab. Arguments given by both have been presented in Tafsir Majari with full elaboration. p. 49v. 5. While reciting the Quran, whether in Salah or out of it, the saying of Adhu Billah is a sunnah. The rule applies to both situations equally. But after it has been said once, one may go on reciting as much as one wishes to, for the same single tawwid, said at the beginning, is sufficient. Yes, if one abandons the recitation in the middle, gets busy with some mundane chore, and then resumes it all over again, one should reinitiate the recitation by saying Adhu Billah, and Bismillah once again at that time. Saying Adhu Billah before reading any word or book other than the Quran is not a sunnah. There, one should recite only Bismillah. Al-Mukhtasar show me, however, the hadith teaches the saying of tawwid during other things done and situations faced. For example, when someone gets very angry, so says the hadith, the heat of the anger goes away by saying, Adhu Billahi minash shaitanir rajim, I seek protection with Allah from Shaitan, the accursed. Ibn Kathir. It also appears in hadith that, before going to the toilet, saying, Alhamad bika minaki ubathi wal kalbaith, O Allah, I seek protection with you from the foul and the impure is commendable, mustahab shami.
Indeed, there is for him no authority over those who have believed and rely upon their Lord.
The way of faith and trust in Allah is the way of freedom from the power and control of the shaitan. Verses Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 99 to 100 make it clear that Allah Ta'ala has not given the shaitan the kind of power which would disarm any human being and compel him to become helpless and take to evil. So, should one opt for not using his capability of choice and control because of sheer carelessness or some selfish motive, then this would be his own fault. Therefore, it was said that people who have faith in Allah and who, rather than trust their willpower in their states and actions, place their ultimate trust in Allah Ta'ala, for He is the one who gives us the ability to do everything good and also the one who shields us from everything evil. The shaitan cannot possess and dictate such people. Of course, those who elect to befriend none but the shaitan because of their selfish motives, particularly like things about him and go about associating others in the pristine divinity of Allah Ta'ala, then the shaitan is all over them, in possession and control, and would not let them go towards anything good, while, in every evil, they are right in front. The same subject has been taken up in verse Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 42 of Surah Al-Mukhtasar, where Allah Ta'ala has himself refuted the claim of the shaitan by saying, Surely my servants are such that you have no power over them, except over the one who follows you from among the astray. Surah Al-Mukhtasar, Ayah 42.
His authority is only over those who take him as an ally, and those who through him associate others with Allah.
See Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 99, for the Tafsir.
And when we substitute a verse in place of a verse, and Allah is most knowing of what He sends down, they say, You, O Muhammad, are but an inventor of lies, but most of them do not know.
Sequence of verses. In the previous verse Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 98, there was an instruction to say, Adhu Billah, I seek protection with Allah, while reciting the Quran, which indicates that the shaitan puts scruples in the heart when one recites the Quran. In the verses cited above, there is a refutation of such satanic instigations.
Say, O Muhammad, the pure spirit has brought it down from your Lord in truth to make firm those who believe and as guidance and good tidings to the Muslims.
See Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 101 for the Tafsir.
And we certainly know that they say, It is only a human being who teaches the Prophet. The tongue of the one they refer to is foreign. And this Quran is in a clear Arabic language.
See Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 101 for the Tafsir.
Indeed, those who do not believe in the verses of Allah, Allah will not guide them, and for them is a painful punishment.
See Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 101 for the Tafsir.
They only invent falsehood who do not believe in the verses of Allah, and it is those who are the liars.
See Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 101 for the Tafsir.
Whoever disbelieves in Allah after his belief, except for one who is forced to renounce his religion while his heart is secure in faith, But those who willingly open their breasts to disbelief, upon them is wrath from Allah, and for them is a great punishment.
Commentary. From the first verse Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 106 comes the religious ruling about a person who has been compelled to utter a word of infidelity, kufr, under the threat that he would be killed if he did not do that. If he feels that, in all likelihood, the people threatening him have full capability of doing just that, then this is a state of duress. If he were to utter some word of disbelief verbally, but with a heart firm on faith, a heart that shuns saying what is false and evil, then there is no sin on him, nor will his wife become unlawful for him. Qutb by Mashari. This verse was revealed about the noble Sahaba who were arrested by the mushriks. Their disbelieving captors had told them that they must return to infidelity, failing which they would be killed. Those so arrested were Sayyidina Amr, may Allah be pleased with him, and his parents, Sayyidina Yasir and Sayyida Sumayya and Sayyidina Suhaib. Bil and Kabab, may Allah be pleased with him. Out of these, Sayyidina Yasir and his wife, Sayyida Sumayya, may Allah be pleased with him, totally refused to utter any word of disbelief. Sayyidina Yasir, may Allah be pleased with him, was killed, while Sayyida Sumayya, may Allah be pleased with him, was tied in between two camels who were made to run, which tore her apart in two separate body parts. This was how she met her shahada, martyrdom in the way of Allah, and these are the same two blessed souls who were the first to meet their shahada for the sake of Islam. Similarly, Sayyidina Kabab, may Allah be pleased with him, totally refused to utter any word of disbelief, and it was in perfect peace that he accepted the fate of being killed by the disbelievers. Out of the remaining, Sayyidina Amr, may Allah be pleased with him, went by making the mere verbal declaration of his disbelief in the face of such a danger to his life, but his heart was perfectly satisfied and firmly set upon his faith. Once he was released by the enemy, he presented himself before the Holy Prophet and narrated this event with great pain. The Holy Prophet asked him, when you were making this statement, what was going on in your heart? He submitted, as for my heart, it was at peace and firmly set on my faith. The Holy Prophet put him at rest by telling him that he was not to face any punishment for that. It was in confirmation of this verdict by him that the present verse was revealed. Qutb by Mashari, the definition of ikra or compulsion. Literally, ikra means using threat or violence to force a person to act against his or her will. Then it has 2 degrees. In the first degree of ikra, one is not willing by heart to do something, but is also not that denuded of choice and volition to say no. In the terminology of Muslim jurists, this is known as ikra ghair mulji, state of compulsion, not forced actually, under such duress. Saying any word of disbelief, kufr, or doing something unlawful, haram, does not become permissible. However, there are some supplementary injunctions which do release some adverse effects even against this situation. Relevant details appear in books of fiqh. In the second degree of ikra, one is just sucked out of all choice, so much so that should he fail to carry out the order of the perpetrators of this coercion, ikra, he would be killed or some of his organ is amputated. This, in the terminology of Muslim jurists, is called ikra mulji, which means a compulsion which makes one totally choiceless and helpless. When under the state of such duress, the mere verbalization of the word of disbelief subject to the condition that one's heart is firm and at peace with faith is permissible. Similarly, short of killing another human being, should one be coerced to do some other unlawful deed, it will bring no sin to commit that unlawful act. But the concessions given in both kinds of ikra are subject to a condition that the coercer threatening to do what he says he will do should actually be capable of doing just that, and the coerced should have the overwhelming likelihood that should he fail to oblige him, he would go ahead and definitely do what he is threatening to do. Related ruling. There are 2 kinds of transactions. Those in which the transaction can be effected only by mutual consent and heartfelt willingness of the parties, like sale, gift, etc. There is the definitive authority of the Holy Qur'an to this effect. The Holy Qur'an says, do not eat up the wealth of others, unless there is a trade with mutual consent. Surah An-Nisa, Ayah 29, and then it appears in Hadith, the wealth and property of a Muslim does not become lawful, unless it be with a wholehearted pleasure from the person. If such transactions were to be arranged and executed under duress with ikra, they have no validity in the sight of the Sharia of Islam. In normal practice, once the person concerned comes out of the state of ikra, compulsion, duress, he will have the option to reassess the sale or gift done under duress and exercise his free will to retain or cancel it. Then there are some transactions which depend on verbal commitment only. Here, the intention and the volition in the heart or pleasure and are not the binding conditions of the transaction, such as marriage, divorce, revocation of divorce, freedom of a slave, etc. For such matters, it is said in Hadith, there are three things in which not only the serious words, but also the non-serious words are counted as serious. It means if two individuals go through the process of offer and acceptance in marriage in accordance with attending conditions, or some husband divorces his wife by pronouncing it verbally, or verbally revokes the divorce given by him earlier, whether that be in jest with no intention in the heart for marriage or divorce or revocation still, by a mere saying of the respective words, the marriage will stand solemnized, the divorce will become effective, and the revocation will turn out right. Majari, according to Imam Abu Hanifa, Al-Shabai, Zuri, Nakai, and Kedada, may the mercy of Allah be upon them. This very injunction applies to divorce under duress talaq makra. It means that such a person being under duress was though not ready to divorce willingly, and by heart yet, rendered helpless, he uttered the words of divorce. Now, the actualization of divorce is connected with nothing but the pronouncing of the words of divorce. The intention and will of the heart is not a condition here, is proved from the hadith cited above. Therefore, this divorce will become effective. But according to Imam Shafi'i and Sayyidina Ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, the divorce under duress, under the state of ikra, will not take effect because it appears in hadith, may Allah be pleased with him. Removed away from Ma'ama are mistake, forgetting, and what they are compelled to under coercion. Reported by Al-Tabarni from Sayyidina Thawban, according to Imam Abu Hanifa, may Allah have mercy on him, this hadith is related to injunctions of the hereafter. Hereafter, that is, some things said or done contrary to the Sharia by mistake and forgetfulness or under duress will bring no sin. As for the rest of the injunctions pertaining to the moral world, as well as the incidences of doing things like that therein are to occur as felt and sensed, it goes without saying that the vestiges and rulings generated by this occurrence shall continue to bring their relevant effects. For example, someone killed someone else by mistake, then there is no doubt that he will neither incur the sin of killing him nor face the punishment of the hereafter, but the way the tangible effect of killing has occurred in the form of the victim's loss of life. Very similarly, its subsequent Islamic legal effect will also follow. His wife will, after the period of Aida, be able to enter a second marriage contract, and the wealth and property left by him will be distributed in the form of inheritance to his legal heirs. Similarly, when words to the effect of divorce, marriage, or revocation were said verbally, then their consequential Islamic legal effect will also follow. Mazari, Qutubai.
That is because they preferred the worldly life over the hereafter, and that Allah does not guide the disbelieving people.
See Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 106, for the Tafsir.
Those are the ones over whose hearts and hearing and vision Allah has sealed, and it is those who are the heedless.
See Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 106, for the Tafsir.
Assuredly, it is they in the hereafter who will be the losers.
See Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 106, for the Tafsir.
Then indeed your Lord, to those who emigrated after they had been compelled to renounce their religion, and thereafter fought for the cause of Allah and were patient, indeed your Lord, after that, is forgiving and merciful.
Sequence of verses. Warnings of punishment against disbelief, kufr, whether original or apostasy, irtidad, appeared in previous verses. After that, in the first of the initial 3 verses cited above, it has been pointed clearly that a man where the declaration of faith is a wealth that could work wonders for a kafir, disbeliever, or murtad, apostate, who if he were to come up with an honest and true man, all his past sins would stand forgiven. In the second verse, Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 107, the last day of Qiyamah was mentioned for the reason that all this phenomena of reward and punishment has to occur after that. In the third verse, Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 108, it was said that the real punishment of disbelief and sin will, though come after the Qiyamah, yet there are some sins the punishment of which is faced in a certain degree within the present world.
On the day when every soul will come disputing for itself, and every soul will be fully compensated for what it did, and they will not be wronged.
See Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 110, for the Tafsir.
And Allah presents an example, a city which was safe and secure, its provision coming to it in abundance from every location, but it denied the favors of Allah. So Allah made it taste the envelopment of hunger and fear for what they had been doing.
Commentary. According to leading tafsir authorities, the similitude mentioned in verse Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 112 is general and universal. It does not relate to a particular habitation. However, there are others who connect it to what had happened in Makkah al-Mukarramah, where people suffered from an acute famine for 7 years, so much so that they were compelled to eat animal carcass, dead dogs and filth. They were virtually gripped with the awe of Muslims. Then the chiefs of Makkah came to the Holy Prophet with the plea that those who had committed disbelief and disobedience against his call were all grown-up men. Women and children were innocent. Thereupon, the Holy Prophet arranged to have food supplies for them sent from Medina al-Tayyibah. Majari and Abu Sufyan, while still in his state of kufr, requested the Holy Prophet, "You teach kindness to relatives and mercy and forgiveness. Here are your people standing on the brink of destruction. Please pray to Allah for the removal of this famine from us." Thereupon, the Holy Prophet prayed for them and the famine was gone. Qutubai, as for the use of the word, libas, garment, to carry the sense of giving a taste of hunger and fear towards the later part of verse Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 112, it will be noted that a garment is not a thing to be tasted. But the word garment standing for libas has been used here with the force of a simile denoting something being widespread and all-enveloping. The suggestion being conveyed here is that fear and hunger were cast over them in a manner of a garment or dress which becomes an integral part of the body. This was how hunger and fear were released and set all over them. Mashari.
And there had certainly come to them a messenger from among themselves, but they denied him, so punishment overtook them while they were wrongdoers.
See Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 112, for the tafsir.
Then eat of what Allah has provided for you, which is lawful and good, and be grateful for the favor of Allah, if it is indeed Him that you worship.
Sequence and explanation in gist. Mentioned in the previous verses was that disbelievers will be punished for their ungratefulness to Allah, whose blessings they had been enjoying. In the cited verses, Muslims have been instructed to stay away from ungratefulness, rather be grateful for how things Allah has given to them. After that, they were told how the disbelievers and polytheists had become ungrateful by declaring what Allah had made halal for them as haram, and what Allah had called haram as halal. Muslims were warned that they should never do that. Making things halal and haram is the exclusive right of their Creator. Doing this on your own amounts to interference in divine prerogatives, in fact, amounts to attributing lies to Allah Ta'ala. Towards the end, it was also said that even those who have committed such evil deeds through ignorance should not lose hope in the mercy of Allah Ta'ala. Should they repent and believe honestly and truly, Allah Ta'ala will forgive all sins committed by them.
He has only forbidden to you dead animals, blood, the flesh of swine, and that which has been dedicated to other than Allah. But whoever is forced by necessity, neither desiring it nor transgressing its limit, then indeed Allah is forgiving and merciful.
Commentary. Nature of prohibitions, the correct view. The restrictive particle, innama only, appearing in verse Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 115 seems to give the impression that things haram are no more than the forementioned in the verse. This impression emerges more clearly in another verse. Say, I do not find in what has been revealed to me anything prohibited. Surah Al-An'am, Ayah 145, it seems to be suggestive of nothing being haram other than the things mentioned in the verse, while the fact is that according to clarifications of the Qur'an and Sunnah, and by the consensus of the Muslim Ummah, there are many more things rated as haram. The answer to this difficulty comes through deliberation into the context of these very verses, which tells us that the purpose at this place is not to describe halal and haram as they are commonly understood. Instead, the purpose is to point out to what the mushrikin of the period of Jahiliyyah had done. They had made many things haram on their own, although Allah Ta'ala had never ordered them about their unlawfulness. It amounts to saying, out of the things you have arbitrarily made out as haram, only that which is really haram is being mentioned here. A comprehensive explanation of this verse along with a detailed description of these 4 prohibitions has appeared in the commentary of Surah Al-Baqarah, Maarif-ul-Qur'an, Volume I, pages, under verses Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 173 to 174. Those interested may see it there.
And do not say about what your tongues assert of untruth, this is lawful and this is unlawful, to invent falsehood about Allah. Indeed, those who invent falsehood about Allah will not succeed.
See Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 115 for the Tafsir.
It is but a brief enjoyment, and they will have a painful punishment.
See Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 115 for the Tafsir.
And to those who are Jews, we have prohibited that which we related to you before, and we did not wrong them thereby, but they were wronging themselves.
See Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 115 for the Tafsir.
Then indeed your Lord, to those who have done wrong out of ignorance and then repent after that and correct themselves, indeed your Lord thereafter is forgiving and merciful.
Repentance from sin brings forgiveness. Is it open or restricted? In the last verse, Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 119, then your Lord, for those who did evil through ignorance. It will be noticed that the sense of ignorance has been conveyed by the use of the word johala, not jal. As for the word jal, it is employed as an antonym of ilm, knowledge, and releases the sense of a lack of knowledge or understanding, while the word johala denotes acting ignorantly even if done knowingly. This tells us that the forgiveness of sins through tawbah, repentance, is not restricted to a situation where a sin is committed with lack of understanding or volition. Rather, a true tawbah or repentance may forgive all sins, even though committed deliberately.
Indeed, Abraham was a comprehensive leader, devoutly obedient to Allah, inclining toward truth, and he was not of those who associate others with Allah.
Sequence of verses. Refuted in the previous verses was the root of shirk and kufr, which is rejection of the reality of Allah's oneness, and the rejection of the mandate given by Him to His Prophet. Also refuted there were some offshoots of kufr and shirk in the form of legalizing the illegal and illegalizing the legal, a virtual reversal of divinely ordained arrangements. Since the mushriks of Makkah, who were the first direct addressees of the Holy Qur'an, and who, despite their infidelity and idol worship, claimed that they were adherents of the great community of Sayyidina Ibrahim, and that what they did was all in accordance with his teachings, it was also taken up as due. The rejection of their position came on the basis of what they already believed in. So, in the first of the 5 verses cited above, it was said that Sayyidina Ibrahim was the foremost universal leader of nations with the high station of a prophet and messenger of Allah. This proves that he was a great prophet and messenger. Then by saying, and he was not among the mushriks. Along with it, his being a torchbearer of the most perfect belief in the oneness of Allah was confirmed. And in the second verse, Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 121, by saying that he was grateful to Allah and was on the straight path. A warning signal was given to his adversaries who claimed to be his followers. How could they, being as ungrateful as they were, had the cheek to call themselves his adherents and followers? After that it was said, in the third verse, Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 122, that Sayyidina Ibrahim was successful in dunya and the hereafter, and then it was said, in the fourth verse, Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 123, that the prophetic mission of Sayyidina Muhammad al-Mustafa was true, and that he was truly committed to the ideal of the authentic community of Sayyidina Ibrahim. After having stated these 2 premises, the instruction given was, your claim cannot be correct without faith in and obedience to the Holy Prophet. In the 5th verse, Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 124, the Sabbath was appointed only for those. The hint given is that good things you, on your own, have made unlawful for yourself were really not unlawful in the community of Sayyidina Ibrahim. Commentary. The word Ummah has a few other meanings, but the well-known sense is that of community, nation, or group of people. At this place, this is what it means as reported from Sayyidina Ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him. The sense is that Sayyidina Ibrahim is in his person the community, a nation, almost a compendium of their perfections and merits. There is another meaning of the word Ummah, that of the leader of a community, someone imbibing in his person many perfections. Some commentators have taken exactly this meaning of the word at this place, and the word Kanat in verse Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 120 means obedient to the command of his creator. Sayyidina Ibrahim has distinct status in these 2 qualities. As for being the leader, people from all famous faiths of the world believe in him and consider it an honor to be the followers of his community. Of course, the Jews, the Christians, and the Muslims revere him. Even the mushriks of Arabia, despite their idol worship, felt proud to believe in him and in, supposedly, following his way, the way of someone who was the foremost idol breaker in human annals. As for the signal distinction of his being Kanat, obedient, it becomes crystal clear from the trials this friend, Khalil, of Allah has gone through. Imagine the fire of Nimrod, the command to go elsewhere, leaving behind his family in a wilderness, and then his being ready to sacrifice his very dear son. All these are singularities, because of which Allah Ta'ala has honored him with such epithets.
He was grateful for his favors. Allah chose him and guided him to a straight path.
See Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 120 for the Tafsir.
And we gave him good in this world, and indeed in the hereafter he will be among the righteous.
See Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 120 for the Tafsir.
Then we revealed to you, O Muhammad, to follow the religion of Abraham, inclining toward truth, and he was not of those who associate with Allah.
The Holy Prophet being on the way of Sayyidina Ibrahim, understanding the chemistry of adherence. When Sayyidina Ibrahim appeared, Allah blessed him with the Sharia and its injunctions. When the last of the prophets appeared, his Sharia too, with the exception of some particular injunctions, was laid out in accordance with it. Though the Holy Prophet is preferred as more distinguished, Afdal, of all blessed prophets and messengers, but at this place, there are two wise considerations in asking the preferred Afdal to follow the one not so preferred, Mafdal, in the present context, since the Sharia has come into the world earlier and is already known and recognized, and as the last Sharia was also to be in accord with that, therefore this similarity of the Holy Prophet to the way of Sayyidina Ibrahim was expressed through the word Itiba, following, as said by Allama al-Zamakhshari, author of Tafsir al-Kashaf. This command to follow too is a special tribute out of the many honors and tributes attributed to the friend of Allah, Sayyidina Ibrahim. That it is so special has been hinted through the use of the word Thumma then. The sense being conveyed is, certainly great are all those merits and perfections of the person of Sayyidina Ibrahim as they are, but the most superior of all these is the fact that Allah Ta'ala has asked his preferred, most and the dearest Rasul to follow his way.
The Sabbath was only appointed for those who differed over it, and indeed, your Lord will judge between them on the day of resurrection concerning that over which they used to differ.
See Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 123 for the Tafsir.
Invite to the way of your Lord with wisdom and good instruction, and argue with them in a way that is best. Indeed, your Lord is most knowing of who has strayed from his way, and he is most knowing of who is rightly guided.
Sequence of verses. In the previous verses, by attesting to the veracity of the Holy Prophet as prophet and messenger of Allah, the purpose was to induce his people to follow what he commanded them with and thus do their bounden duty towards their divinely ordained Rasul. In the verses cited above, the Holy Prophet himself is being taught how to fulfill the rights of his mission as a messenger of Allah and how to observe the related etiquette as due, the generality of which includes and covers all true believers. Commentary. Dawah and Tabligh, Principles and Curriculum. Embedded in this verse, Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 125, there lies a whole curriculum of Dawah and Tabligh, its principles and rules of etiquette, within the frame of a few words. As in Tafsir al-Qur'an by when Harm ibn Hayyans, may Allah have mercy on him, time of death came near, his relatives asked him for some wasiyah order, parting advice. Will, in reply, he said, wasiyah, that people make for mal, wealth, property, inheritance, which I do not have. But I would still make a wasiyah, that of the ayat of Allah, particularly that of the last verses of Surah An-Nahl, and I order you to stand firm on them. The verses mentioned here are the same as appear above. Literally, dawah means to call. The first duty of the blessed prophets is to call people towards Allah. After that, what they teach as prophets and messengers are explanations of this dawah. The Qur'an, mentioning a special attribute of the Holy Prophet, has called him one who invites people towards Allah, and one who invites towards Allah with his permission whilst being a lamp lighted. Surah Al-Ahzab, Ayah 46, O our people, respond to the caller of Allah, Prophet Muhammad. Surah Al-Kahf, Ayah 31, calling people towards Allah. Dua ilallah has been made obligatory on the Muslim Ummah following in the footsteps of the Holy Prophet. It was said in Surah Ali Imran, and there has to be a group of people from among you who call towards the good. Surah Al-Imran, Ayah 104. And in another verse, it was said, and who is better in utterance than the one who called people towards Allah? Surah Fussilat, Ayah 33, while expressing the general sense, this word may take several forms, such as Dawat ilallah, calling towards Allah, Dawat ila al-Kar, calling toward the good, and Dawat ila Sabilillah, calling towards the way of Allah. However, the outcome is the same because calling towards Allah is actually calling towards His din and the straight path. The next phrase, ila Sabili Rabbit, to the way of your Lord, carries two nuances of expression. Here, by mentioning the special attribute of the most exalted Al-Arab and then by annexing it to the Holy Prophet, a hint has been given that the work of dawah is connected with the attribute of nurture, raising, training, and education. Here it is being suggested to the Holy Prophet that the way Allah Ta'ala has nurtured him, he too should invite people using the mores of nurture and education. It should be a dawah in which due consideration is given to the nature and the tending circumstances of the addressee, and the ultimate approach has to be such as would not weigh heavy on the recipient. Rather, should be as effective as is possible. The word adds, dawah itself imparts this sense in that the mission of a prophet is not simply limited to conveying the injunctions of Allah and making people hear them. Instead, his mission is to invite people to implement these in their lives. And it is obvious that no one inviting someone to Allah would present his submission in a manner which causes distraction and aversion, or in which the addressee has been maligned or mocked at. The expression bil hikmah, with wisdom, which follows immediately, has been used in the Holy Qur'an for several meanings. At this place, some tafsir authorities have taken al-hikmah to mean the Holy Qur'an. Some others explained it as the Quran and Surah An-Nahl. Still others called it the binding argument, while Surah Al-Ma'ani has given the following tafsir of al-hikmah with reference to al-bar al-muhit. It is sound speech which goes into one's heart. Surah Al-Ma'ani. This tafsir assimilates all above views. The author of Surah Al-Bayan has also carried almost the same sense in the following words. Al-hikmah means the insight through which one finds out the dictates of circumstances and talks as appropriate relatively. Chooses such time and occasion as would not put a burden on the addressee. Employs lenience where lenience is called for and firmness where firmness is in order. And where he thinks the addressee would be embarrassed by saying something frankly, there he should use hints to communicate, or employ a change of subject and approach in a way that neither embarrasses the addressee nor feeds him with the thought of sticking by his prejudice. The next word, al-mu'izzah, or wizi, literally means to say something in the spirit of wishing well in a manner that would make the heart of the addressee softened and arable, all tuned to accept it. Once this is done, it will be useful to talk about the reward and benefit of such acceptance, as well as about the punishment and ill effects of not accepting it. Al-Kamas and al-Mufradat of Ragib al-Isfahan, later, by saying al-Hasana, good, the sense conveyed is that the subject and treatment of this counsel should be such as would satisfy the heart of the addressee, removing doubts and apprehensions whereby the addressee comes to realize that you have no personal motive behind your approach and that you are addressing him only in the interest of the addressee and for his or her good. We may stay with the word al-mu'izzah, counsel, for a while and say that it had already made it clear that this wishing well has to be in an effective manner. But experience bears out that sometimes while wishing well for someone, the approach could become hurtful or insulting for the addressee. Surah Al-Ma'ani, in order that people would leave this kind of approach, the word al-hasana, good, was added. The word jadil, argue, in the subsequent sentence, and are with them in the best of manners, has been derived from mujadala at this place. It means argumentation and debate. And argue with them in the best of manners means that should there be, in the process of dawah, the need to engage in debate or exchange of arguments, then that discussion should also be in the best of manners. It appears in Surah Al-Ma'ani that good manners require gentle and soft approach in mutual submissions. Arguments have to be such as would be easily understood by the addressee. Arguments have to be supported by known premises so that they help remove the doubts of the addressee and shield him against falling into dogmatism. And there are other verses of the Qur'an which bear witness to the fact that this approach of showing good manners in debate, al-ilsan fi al-mujadala, is not restricted to Muslims alone. About the people of the book, Jews and Christians, the Qur'an particularly says, and do not bar with the people of the book, except in a manner which is the best. Surah Al-Ankabut, ayah 46, and in another verse, by giving the instruction of speak to him in gentle words, Surah Taha, ayah 44, to say Musa and Harun. It was also stressed that this was how they have to deal even with as rebellious and infidel as the Pharaoh. Dawah, principles and etiquette. To sum up, 3 things have been mentioned in verse Surah An-Nahl, ayah 125 is necessary for dawah: al-hikmah, wisdom; al-mu'izzah, al-hasana, good counsel; al-mujadala, bloody high, al-san, debate in the best of manners. Some commentators have said that these things are there because of three kinds of addressees. Inviting with wisdom is for people of knowledge and understanding. Inviting with good counsel is for common people. Argument and debate are for those who nurse doubts in their hearts, or simply refuse to accept anything said to them because of hostility and obstinacy. My mentor and master, Maulana Ashraf Thanawi, may Allah have mercy on him, has said in his Tafsir Al-Qur'an and that it is far out to deduce from the context of the verse that the addressees of these three themes are groups of three different kinds, separate from each other. In the light of the above, what seems to be obvious here is that these rules of etiquette in dawah are to be used for everyone. The first thing to do in dawah is to wisely assess conditions surrounding the addressee and pick out the most appropriate thing to say in those terms. Then, what has to be said will certainly be said. As a well-wisher, however, this empathy has to be strengthened by such evidences and proof as would satisfy the addressee. And the subject matter and the manner of presentation has to be kept soft and affectionate so that the addressee becomes certain about whatever is being said and starts feeling that this person is saying it in his interest and for his benefit, and that the speaker's purpose is not to embarrass him or belittle his status. However, the author of Al-Mani has made a subtle point at this place. According to him, the arrangement of the verse shows that there are really no more than two things in dawah: al-hikmah, wisdom, and al-mau'izah, good counsel. The third thing, al-mujadalah, argument, debate, is just not included under the principles of dawah. But it can be conceded that it does come out handy once in a while in the path of dawah. The author of Al-Mani proves this point by saying, if these three things were to be the principles of dawah, the exigency of the situation required that all three should have been enumerated with the help of conjunctions, but the Holy Qur'an has elected to say al-hikmah, wisdom, and al-mau'izah, good counsel, with conjunctive words, in one single arrangement, while, for al-mujadalah, it has chosen to have a separate sentence, and argue with them in the best of manners. This tells us that argument in matters of knowledge is not a basic element or condition of the call to Allah. Dawah ilallah, instead, it is an instruction concerning matters that come up in the path of dawah, an example of which appears in the next verse where patience has been enjoined because it is inevitable to observe patience over pains inflicted by people while in the path of dawah. In short, there are two principles of dawah: al-hikmah, wisdom, and al-mau'izah, good counsel. No dawah, whether to the learned and the classes or to the masses of people, should remain without these two factors. However, one has to face the kind of people who are neck-deep into doubts and superstitions and more than ready to start a debate with a da'i, a man of dawah. It is to meet such situations that a go-ahead signal to engage in the exercise of al-mujadalah, argument, debate, has been given. But by imposing the restriction of, in the best of manners, along with it, it was made very clear that the mujadalah devoid of this condition has no place and status in the Sharia, the prophetic etiquette of dawah. Inviting people towards Allah is in fact the mission and station of the blessed prophets, may peace be upon them all. The rightly guided ulama of the Muslim community carry out this mission in their capacity of being their deputies. So, it is incumbent on them that they should learn its etiquette and methodology from them alone. A dawah that does not follow those methods faithfully does not remain what dawah really is. Instead, it turns into adwa, enmity, and becomes the cause of subsequent confrontations and wars. An instruction of the Holy Qur'an given to Sayyidina Musa and Harun in Surah Taha illustrates the principle observed by prophets in their call: speak to him in gentle words, maybe he takes to the advice or fears. Surah Taha, Ayah 44. This is a principle no color to truth. Da'ila al-haq should ever lose sight of. Let him always bear in mind that the Pharaoh was an infidel, kafir, known for his rebellion, one whose death was to come as an ultimate divine knowledge, while he was still a kafir. Now, when Allah Ta'ala sends his man of the call even to a disbelieving tyrant like the Pharaoh, he sends him with the instruction of talking to him gently. Today, the people we invite to Allah, to his faith, they are not more astray than the Pharaoh. Then, none of us can claim to match Sayyidina Musa and Harun as great guides and callers to the way of Allah. So, the right that Allah did not give to the two of his prophets, that they hurl hard talk on the addressee, throw taunts at him, and insult him, where in the world did we get that right from? The Holy Qur'an is full of the dawah and tabligh of the noble prophets and the contestations of disbelievers. Nowhere in there we find that any messenger of Allah has ever responded with a single unpleasant word against those who threw taunts at them despite their being on the side of the truth. Let us have a look at some relevant examples. The words spoken by two prophets, Sayyidina Nuh and Sayyidina Hud, in response to the confrontation and sharp accusations of their people are worth noticing. These can be seen in the 7th section of Surah Al-Araf from verses Surah An-Nahl, ayah 59 to 67. Say, Ibn Nuh is the great prophet known for his high determination and long blessed years in this world. For 950 years he devoted his life to dawah, tabligh, reform and enlightenment among his people. But with the exception of a few, no one from among his people listened to him. Leave the rest. Even his son and wife remain on the side of disbelievers. Had a modern-day reformer been in his place, imagine how he would have talked to such a people. Just imagine and then see what those people said in response to his call in their interest and for their benefit. They said, indeed, we see you in an obvious error. Surah Al-Araf, ayah 60. On the other side, there is a prophet of Allah. He skips the option of chastising his evil and contumacious people, and this is what he elects to say, O my people, there is no error in me, but I am a messenger from the Lord of the worlds telling you what is good for you. Surah Al-Araf, ayah 61. The other messenger of Allah who came after him was Sayyidina Hud. His people, despite having seen the messenger's miracles, chose to remain hostile. They said, you have yet to come up with a proof for your claim, and we are not the kind of people who would abandon their objects of worship, idols, just because you say so. The fact is that you have been irreverent in respect of our idols, and that is why you have gone crazy. Having heard all this, Sayyidina Hud responded by saying, I make Allah my witness, and you witness that I have nothing to do with what you take as gods besides him. Surah Hud, ayah 54. And as in Surah Al-Araf, to him his people said, indeed, we see you in foolishness, and we certainly believe you to be one of the liars. Surah Al-Araf, ayah 66. In response to these heart-rending words used against him by his people, the messenger of Allah, Sayyidina Hud, blessings and peace on him, does not even think of some sharp repartee, some derogatory counter-comment, or say anything which would bring into focus their waywardness and their ugly penchant for attributing lies to Allah. He does nothing of that sort. Yet he gives the answer in one answer. He simply said, O my people, there is no foolishness in me, but I am a messenger from the Lord of the world. Surah Al-Araf, ayah 67. Sayyidina Shu'aib invited his people to Allah in accordance with customary practice of prophets. They were addicted to the evil practice of weighing less and measuring short. When Sayyidina Shu'aib asked them to refrain from it, his people made fun of him and asked him in biting contempt. They said, O Shu'aib, does your salah, prayer, command you that we should give up what our fathers used to worship or give up our free will in spending our wealth? You are provenly the man of wisdom and guidance. Surah Hud, ayat 87. Here they have said three things. They open with a taunt. This prayer that you make teaches you to do all those foolish things. Then they talk about their wealth, property, commercial interests. This is ours. We buy. We sell it. Do you have to do with our financial matters? And for that matter, how does your God come into this? All this belongs to us, and we have the right of spending it as we wish. The last sentence, they say, is loaded with black humor and angry sarcasm. You are certainly wise, guided right. It seems as if the contemporary votaries of secular economy did not rise only in our time. They do have their forebears in the past whose theoretical assumptions were the same as is being dished out today by some Muslims carrying nothing but Muslim names. So they would say that they were Muslims. They believed in Islam, but when it comes to an economic order, they adopt socialism or capitalism, or as they would like to believe, this area is out of bounds for Islam. Returning to what his people said to say, in issue Abe, let us now see how the messenger Allah responds to the sarcastic remarks made by his unjust people. He said, O my people, tell me, if I am on a clear path from my Lord, and he has provided me from himself with a good provision, should I still leave you unguided? And I do not want to do in your absence what I prohibit for you. I want nothing but to set things right as far as I can, and what I am unable to do is only with the help of Allah. In him alone I have placed my trust, and to him alone I turn in humbleness. Surah Hud, ayah 88. Despite that Sayyidina Musa, one sent to the Pharaoh, had fully complied with the divine instruction of talking to him gently, the response of the Pharaoh to Sayyidina Musa came in the following words. He said, Did we not raise you among us as a child, and you stayed among us for years of your life? And you did your deed which you did, and you were of the infidels. Surah Ash-Shura, ayah 18-19. Here the Pharaoh has reminded Sayyidina Musa of two favors done to him, that he raised him as a child, and that he stayed with him for a number of years while older. Then he showed his displeasure over the incident in which a Copt got killed at the hands of Sayyidina Musa, though he had no intention of killing him. In his anger, he also said that he had become an infidel. At this place, the expression antimin al-kafiran could be taken in the literal sense, that is, one who is ungrateful, which would mean, we did favors to you and you killed one of our men, a demonstration of ungratefulness to favors done. Then, it could also be given a technical meaning, because the Pharaoh claimed to be God. So, whoever denied his godhead turned out to be a kafir, infidel. Now, at this juncture, let us hear the answer given by Sayyidina Musa, which is a masterpiece of prophetic manners and morals of Dawah. Here, first of all, he goes ahead and makes a clean breast of what had happened to him. He had tried to disengage a Copt who was fighting an Israelite man. The punch he had employed to do that caused his death. So, this killing was not intentional, but it was also not prompted by some religious exigency. In fact, even under the law of Moses, that man was not deserving of being killed. Therefore, he began by confessing first and said, I did it then, while I was of the astray, ignorant. Surah Ash-Shara, Ayah 20. The sense is that the act had escaped him before he was blessed with the mission of a prophet, and at a time when he was not aware of any divine command about it. After that, he said, so I fled from you when I feared you. Then my Lord bestowed wisdom on me and made me of his messengers. Surah Ash-Shara, Ayah 21. After that, Sayyidina Musa took up the reality of favors the Pharaoh was harping on. He told him that he was not right in doing that because this whole matter of bringing him up was the result of his own cruelty and oppression, and that it was he who had a standing order in force, the order to kill Israelite children. His mother was therefore compelled to put him into the river, until came the time when he reached his home. He said, and this is the favor you put on me, that you have enslaved the children of Israel. Surah Ash-Shara, Ayah 22. After that, when the Pharaoh asked, and what is the Lord of the worlds? Surah Ash-Shara, Ayah 23, he replied by saying, the Lord of the heavens and the earth and of whatever there is in between them. Surah Ash-Shara, Ayah 24. Thereupon, it was by way of mockery that the Pharaoh turned towards the audience and asked, do you not hear? Surah Ash-Shara, Ayah 25, meaning, you hear him, don't you? As if he gone out of his mind? Thereupon, Sayyidina Musa added, your Lord and the Lord of your first forefathers. Surah Ash-Shara, Ayah 26. Irritated, the Pharaoh said, indeed, your messenger, who claims to have been sent to you as a madman. Surah Ash-Shara, Ayah 27. Even such a derogatory title given to Sayyidina Musa did not lure him into a blow-for-blow response, for he could have easily told the Pharaoh as to who was insane and who was sane. He just took no notice of it, in fact, went on to describe another attribute of Allah, the Lord of the worlds, Lord of the East and the West and of whatever there is in between them, if you were to comprehend. Surah Ash-Shara, Ayah 28. This is a lengthy dialogue taking place in the court of the Pharaoh between him and Sayyidina Musa. It covers 3 sections of Surah Ash-Shara. Look at this dialogue of Sayyidina Musa from the beginning to the end. No emotions are betrayed here. No reply has been given to his bad words, nor is his hard talk matched by counter-hard talk. Instead of all that, there is a continuous flow of statements to the effect of Allah Ta'ala's attributes of perfection along with the ongoing efforts of tabligh. This is a brief sample of the confrontations in which the blessed prophets have stood up against their hostile and obstinate people. We can also say that it is a practical demonstration of arguing with the best of manners. Besides argumentations, debates and intellectual confrontations, when inevitable, models have been set by the blessed prophets in Dawah and tabligh on a standing basis. They have established wise principles in human communications as appropriate to different addressees and different occasions, with the added considerations as dictated by wisdom or beneficial expediency. In short, the way and method put in practice by the blessed prophets in order to invite people to Allah, Dawat ilallah, and make it popular, effective, and abiding as well is, in reality, the essence and spirit of Dawah. As for its details, these are spread all over in the teachings of the Holy Prophet. Let us have a look at some of these as representative samples. The Holy Prophet was very particular about making sure that no burden is placed on the addressee, whether in Dawah and tabligh or in good counsel and beneficial advice. As for the noble Sahaba, they held the Holy Prophet very dear to their heart. About them it could not be imagined that they would, God forbid, ever get bored with what he had to say. Yet, even for them, his customary practice was that he would not hold his teaching, counseling, and advising sessions every day. Rather limited it to some days of the week so that their occupation or business is not adversely affected or that it becomes some sort of burden on them. According to a narration of Sayyidina Abdul ibn Mas'ud, may Allah be pleased with him, reported in the Sahih al-Bukhari, the Holy Prophet had his wazi sessions only on some days of the week lest we get bored, and he instructed others to do the same. Sayyidina Anas, may Allah be pleased with him, reports that the Holy Prophet said, make things easy and do not make things difficult, and give people the good news of mercy from Allah, and do not disappoint or alienate them. Sahih al-Bukhari, Kitab al-Ilm. Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, says, you should become Rabbani, the people of your Rabb, people with wisdom, learning and law. After reporting this saying in the Sahih al-Bukhari, the word Rabbani has been explained as a person who, keeping in sight the principles of dawah, tabligh, education and training, starts with simple things first. When people get used to it, then he tells them about other imperatives which would have been difficult at the elementary stage. This person is a divinely guided scholar. These days religious sermons and propagation efforts produce very little effect. The main reason is that workers in this field generally do not give due consideration to the principles and etiquette necessary in this area. Lengthy lectures, uncalled for sermonizings, and insisting on people to do something without first finding out the conditions faced by the addressee have become their habit. When engaged in the mission of invitation and reformation, the Holy Prophet made an extra effort to ensure that the addressee is not insulted or disgraced in any way. Therefore, when he would see someone involved with something bad or wrong, he would not address him directly. Instead, he used to beam his remarks at a public gathering. For example, he would say, what has happened to people that they do so? This used to be part of a public address. Naturally, the person who was supposed to hear it did hear it, was ashamed in his heart, and went about getting rid of that drawback. It was the universal habit of noble prophets that they shielded the addressee from being embarrassed. Therefore, on occasions, they would attribute what was done by the addressee to their own selves, and thus tried to set things right with their people. It appears in Surah Yasin, what is the matter with me that I would not worship him who created me? Surah Yasin, Ayah 22. As for this emissary of the messenger, he was already devoted to his ibadah, worship, all the time as was his usual way. The purpose here was to make the addressee who was not so engaged hear the worth and value of turning to Allah in ibadah. But as we see, he has attributed the shortcoming to his own person. And dawah means to call or bid someone to come close to the caller, definitely not to enumerate the person's shortcomings. Then, this act of calling can become effective only when there is some common ground between the caller and the called. For this reason, the dawah of the noble prophets, as in the Holy Qur'an, mostly begins with the words, Aqami, O my people, through which stress is placed first on the common factor of brotherly relations, and then things aiming at their betterment are said. It amounts to saying we are people of the same brotherhood, so let there be no hatred in between us, and this is how they start the mission of reforming their society. In the letter of dawah sent by the Holy Prophet to Heracles, the Byzantine emperor, he began by calling the emperor the great man of Byzantium. This tribute of honor given to him was permissible because it contained a confession of the emperor's being great, though for the people of Byzantine, not for him. After that, the manner in which the invitation to believe was given is being quoted below. O people of the book, come to a word common between us and you, that we worship none but Allah, as in Surah Al-Imran. Surah Al-Imran, Ayah 64. Here, a common factor of unity was mentioned first. It was said that the belief in the oneness of Allah, Tawhid, was the common bond between the two of them. After that came the reminder about the error of Christians. If we were to look into the teachings of the Holy Prophet carefully, we will find similar rules of conduct in every field of dawah and public education. Unfortunately, in our time, we suffer from lack of concern for carrying the call to faith, working for the correction and betterment of people, bidding the fair and forbidding the unfair. Even those who are engaged in these pursuits have, with valid exceptions, taken mere discussions, debates, accusations, name-calling, berating and disgracing the adversary to be dawah and tabligh. The truth of the matter is that all this, being contrary to the sunnah, never turns out to be effective and beneficial, while these gentlemen continue to congratulate themselves for having done a great service to Islam. In reality, they are becoming the cause of making people scared of it. The harmful worldly and otherworldly effects of current contestations. We know from the Tafsir of the present verse Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 125, that the main objective of the Sharia of Islam is the call to Allah, Dawat ilallah, which has two principles, al-hikmah, wisdom, and al-mau'izah al-hasana, good counsel. And if the unwelcome need of al-mujadala, argument, debate, confrontation, stands imposed on some stray occasion, then that too has been allowed with the restriction of being in the best of manners. But in reality, it is not a regular department of Dawah. Instead, it is a via media to handle its negative aspect. The Holy Quran has resulted by placing the restriction of in the best of manners. By doing so, it has told us that it should be in the best spirit of politeness, and with the attitude of a sympathizer and well-wisher. Argument should be formulated clearly as appropriate to the state of the addressee. Any approach which belittles or insults the addressee should be totally avoided. Similarly, for it to be the best, it is also necessary to be on guard lest it becomes harmful to the speaker himself. In other words, it should not affect his morals adversely, for there is the danger of his falling into envy, malice, arrogance, love for name, fame, and power. These are major inward sins. In short, the kind of discussions, debates, polemics, and confrontations we see today are such that it would take a very rare person, some man of Allah, to remain safe against their harmful effects. Otherwise, it is extremely difficult to find refuge from it under normal circumstances. Imam al-Ghazali has said, "The way liquor is the mother of evils, al-Khabith, in that it is a grave sin by itself and also becomes the conduit of other grave sins." Similarly, when overpowering the addressee and demonstrating one's intellectual superiority over people becomes the objective, that too becomes the mother of evils for one's inward state. As a result, many spiritual crimes crop up, for example, envy, malice, arrogance, backbiting, spying on the faults of others, being pleased with their discomfort and being unhappy with their gain, haughty rejection of truth, the attitude of not considering the position of others with justice and moderation, instead worrying about a rebuttal, no matter how askance their interpretations from the Quran and Sunnah are. These are dangers. Even serious religious scholars are affected by them. But the problem is compounded when the thing starts affecting their followers, when the intellectual exercise could turn into a physical one in progressive proportions. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Imam Shafi, may the mercy of Allah be upon him, said, "Knowledge is a brotherhood of the learned." How do those who have turned knowledge into enmity could invite others to follow their religion? When their sole objective is to dominate over others, how could they be expected to practice mutual attachment, love, and consideration? And for one, what evil could be greater than that which drowns him in the morals of the hypocrites and deprives him of the morals of those who truly believe and fear Allah? Imam al-Ghazali said that a person who devotes himself to the ilm of din and the dawah of haqq revolves between two destinies. Either he, following correct principles and avoiding fatal dangers, achieves the eternal good, or otherwise, if he falls down from this station, he slides into eternal misfortune. That he would remain hanging in between these two states is too far out to entertain, because knowledge which is not beneficial is nothing but punishment. The Holy Prophet said, on the Day of Judgment, the person most severely punished of all human beings shall be in slim from whose knowledge Allah has not given him any benefit. And in another Sahih hadith, he said, "Do not learn the ilm of din to compete with the learned in pride and prestige, nor to challenge the incompetent with it, nor to make the faces of people turn towards you therewith. So whoever will do that will be in the fire." Ibn Majah, from the hadith of Sayyidina Jabir, with sound chains of authority, as in Takrij al-Iraqi al-Alihya, therefore the standing creed maslak of authorities among Muslim jurists and the people on truth, haqq, in this matter was that they never considered disputation and confrontation in intellectual issues as permissible. In the mission of inviting people to the truth, it is enough to alert anyone considered to be in error, politely and sympathetically, as a well-wisher, presenting one's submission with necessary arguments. Then, should he accept, it is better. If otherwise, let him observe silence, totally avoiding altercation and adverse criticism. Let us turn to Imam Malik, may Allah have mercy on him. In this matter, Imam Malik said, altercation and confrontation in al-ilm, the knowledge of din, drives away the light of knowledge from the heart of a servant. Someone submitted, there is a person who has the knowledge of Sunnah. Can he enter into debate for the protection of Sunnah? He said no, but he should inform the addressee about the Sunnah as it is. Then, should he accept it, good; otherwise, let him observe silence. Aj, as al-Mazalik Sharp al-Muwadabi. 1 page, ineffectiveness of contemporary dawah work. There are two reasons why the work of dawah invitation and Islah reform is not fully effective. Firstly, because of the increase of corruption in our time and the abundance of haram things, hearts of people have become generally hard and heedless of the hereafter, and the very ability to accept truth has become weak and low. And there are some who find themselves suffering from the curse, the foreboding which was given by the Holy Prophet. He had said that by the later times the hearts of many people will turn upside down, all reverse. The ability to know good from bad, and the distinction of permissible and impermissible will vanish from their heart. Then, negligence towards the duties of bidding the fair and forbidding the unfair and inviting people to the true faith has become common, not to say much about people at large. There is not much realization of its need even among the learned and the righteous. It is assumed that correcting one's own deed is just about enough, whether their children, spouse, brother, friend remains smeared with all sorts of sins. The concern for their reform and betterment is as if no responsibility of theirs, although the definite textual statements of the Holy Qur'an, Nusus, are openly declaring that the betterment of one's children, family, and relatives is his responsibility. Protect yourselves and your families from a fire. At-Tabrim 66:6. As for some people who do pay attention to this duty, they do not know the teachings of the Qur'an and the principles and manners of prophetic dawah. They take it easy, go by their impulse, and say anything to anybody anytime without ever thinking about it. By doing so, they surmise they have done their duty, although this method of action, being contrary to the blessed practice of prophets, further alienates people from the faith and from following its dictates. Of particular mention is the habit of finding faults with others, mocking at them or making fun of them all, in the name of open criticism. Imam Shafi'i said, when alerting someone to some mistake, the rule is if you talk to him privately, explain it politely, then this is advice, and if you disgraced him publicly, this is vice. The publicizing of mutual defects has become so popular these days that negative advertising is being done as if it was some service rendered to the faith. May Allah Ta'ala bless all of us the ability to serve our faith with the best of insight into its dawah and its modalities. At this point ends our submission relating to dawah and its principles and etiquette. After that, we can move on to explain the last part of verse Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 125. Surely your Lord knows best the one who strays from his way, and he knows best the ones who are on the right path. This statement has been made to comfort those who carry the call of their faith, because one is naturally shocked when the addressee does not accept the truth presented despite that all rules of dawah have been observed. And there are occasions when this could produce another effect. When one sees no benefit coming out of dawah, he can become disappointed, even leave the work itself. Therefore, in this sentence, it was said, your duty is only to invite people to the truth in accordance with its correct principles. Beyond that, its acceptance or rejection is something you have nothing to do with, nor is that one of your responsibilities. That falls in the domain of Allah alone. He knows who will remain astray and who will stand guided. You should not worry about it. Go on doing your duty. Do not lose hope. Do not despair. This tells us that this sentence, too, is really a complement of the etiquette of dawah.
And if you punish an enemy, O believers, punish with an equivalent of that with which you were harmed. But if you are patient, it is better for those who are patient.
Causing pain to a man of dawah. Revenge is permissible, but patience is better. The next three verses, Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 126 to 128, carry another important instruction for those who present the message of truth before people. It tells them about what they have to do in unusual conditions. There are occasions when they have to face people who are hard-hearted and very ignorant. No matter how softly and politely one explains things to them, and no matter how much goodwill one has for them in his heart, they would, even then, go in a fit of anger, use bad language, and cause pain. There are times when they would go beyond that and hurt the preacher physically, or would not even mind killing. So a remedial measure was in order for this purpose by saying, and if you were to harm them in retaliation, harm them to the measure you were harmed. And if you opt for patience, it is definitely much better for those who are patient. These noble workers in the way of Allah were given the legal right that it was permissible for them to retaliate against injustice done to them. But this was to be subject to the condition that retaliation should not exceed the measure of injustice done. In other words, assess the injustice inflicted on you, retaliate only to that measure, and ensure that no excess occurs. And at the end of the verse, given there is the advice, though you do have the right to retaliate, but be patient and do not retaliate. It is better. The background in which this verse was revealed, and how it was implemented by the Holy Prophet and his noble Sahaba, may Allah be pleased with him. According to the majority of commentators, this verse is Madani. It was revealed in relation to the Shahada of 70 Sahaba and about the event in which Sayyidina Hamza, may Allah be pleased with him, was killed and his body was subjected to post-killing mutilations, mufla, A narration in Saudi al-Bukhari is in accordance with it. Darqutni has reported from Sayyidina Ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, as follows: in the battle of Uhud, when the mushriks marched back, the dead bodies of 70 leading Sahaba were found. Also included there was Sayyidina Hamza, may Allah be pleased with him, the revered uncle of the Holy Prophet. Since the mushriks were particularly angry with him, therefore, once he was killed by them, they took out their anger on his dead body. His nose, ears, and other parts of the body were cut, and the abdomen was slit open. The very sight of it shocked the Holy Prophet, and he said that, to avenge Hamza, he would have 70 men from the mushriks subjected to a muthla similar to what they have done to Hamza. It was in the background of this event that these 3 verses were revealed: Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 126 to 128. Tafsir Qutubi. It appears in some narrations that these cruel people had meted out the same treatment of muthla, mutilation, in the case of other Sahaba as well, as reported by Al-Turmid, Al-Nad, and Ibn Tuzma and Ibn Hibban in their Sahihs from Sayyidina Ubay ibn Kubi, may Allah be pleased with him. In this matter, being extremely grieved, the Holy Prophet had declared his determination to subject 70 mushriks in retaliation for his Sahaba, irrespective of their exact number, and this was not in accord with the principle of justice and equity Allah Ta'ala intended to stand established in this world through him. Therefore, 2 things were done. He was alerted and told that the right of retaliation was there, but it had to match the measure of injustice done. Retaliating against 70 for a few, irrespective of their number, is not right. Then he was to be the model of morals at their best. Therefore, given to him was the good counsel, though you are allowed to retaliate evenly, but should you set aside this option and be patient and generous to the unjust, that would be much better. Thereupon the Holy Prophet said, now patient we shall be. We shall not take any revenge from anyone, and he paid out a kafara expiation for his oath. Majari from al-Baykawi, when on the eve of the conquest of Mecca, having all those mushriks of Mecca under his control, it was certainly the time to do what he had declared on the battlefield of Uhud that he would do. But it was precisely at the time of the revelation of the cited verses that the Holy Prophet had forsaken his earlier intention and had, instead, decided to observe patience. Therefore, at the time of the conquest of Mecca, the course of patience was taken in accordance with the imperative of these verses. Perhaps it is on this basis that it has been mentioned in some narration that these verses were revealed at the time of the conquest of Mecca. And it is also not too far out to believe that the revelation of these verses was repeated, that is, initially they were revealed at the Battle of Uhud, and then, when came the conquest of Mecca, they were revealed again. As narrated by Al-Mayari from Ibn al-Hasar, ruling, this verse has told us about the law of even retaliation when avenging. Therefore, Muslim jurists say that in the event a person kills someone, the killed will be avenged by killing the killer. One who inflicts injury will have an even injury inflicted on him. Against one who cuts off someone's hand and feet, and then kills him, the guardian of the killed will be given the right that he too should first cut off the killer's hands and feet, and then kill him. Yes, if someone kills someone else by hitting him with a rock, or kills him by injuring him with arrows, then it is not possible to determine the correct measure of the way of killing, that is, how many strikes did it take to make this killing take place, and how much pain has been inflicted on the person killed. In this matter, there is no measure of determining real equalization. Therefore, he will have to be killed invariably with a sword. A.I. Jassa's ruling, though the verse has been revealed in relation to physical pain and loss, but its words are general, which includes the inflicting of financial loss. Therefore, Muslim jurists have said that a person who usurps mal, money, property, etc., belonging to another person, then this other person has the right to forcibly take away from him his mal in accordance with his right, or take it by stealth on condition that the mal taken is from the genus of his right. For example, if cash has been taken, then he can take, in lieu of it, the same amount of cash from him, by usurpation or theft. If things usurped are like grains, corn or cloth, then similar grains, corn or cloth can be taken back. But one cannot take another kind in lieu of the kind taken from him. For example, one cannot forcibly take cloth or some other article of use in lieu of cash. However, some fuqaha, Muslim jurists, have permitted it unconditionally, whether it be from the entitled kind or from some other. Some details of these rules have been covered by Al-Qutubi in his Tafsir, while more comprehensive details appear in books of fiqh. Mentioned in verse Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 126, and if you were to harm, was the general law in which avenging harm done with even harm was declared to be permissible for all Muslims, but taking the option of patience was recommended as definitely much better. And in the next verse, Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 127, the Holy Prophet has been addressed in a special manner and prompted to be patient because, in view of his great dignity and high station, the later response was certainly more appropriate and becoming for him as compared with others. Therefore it was said, and be patient. And your patience is bestowed by none but Allah. It means, as for you, you just do not even contemplate a revenge. Take to sabr, patience, as your only option. And then, he was also told that his sabr will come with the help of Allah alone. That is, observing sabr will be made easy for him.
And be patient, O Muhammad, and your patience is not but through Allah. And do not grieve over them, and do not be in distress over what they conspire.
See Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 126, for the Tafsir.
Indeed, Allah is with those who fear Him, and those who are doers of good.
After that, once again in the last verse, Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 128, a universal formula of having the help of Allah Ta'ala by one's side was announced. It is, surely Allah is with those who fear Him, and those who are good in deeds. The essence of this formula is that the help of Allah Ta'ala is with people who have two virtues, taqwa and ihsan. The essence of taqwa is acting righteously or being good in deed, while the sense of ihsan at this place is to be good to those created by Allah Ta'ala, that is, those who are duty, bound to do righteous deeds and are particular in dealing with others nicely allied with them. And it is obvious if someone is blessed with the company, help of Allah Ta'ala, who can touch him,